Conversation overheard?
No, conversation that you and I had back on July 27, 2014.
Yes.
And that was closer to the date that this incident actually happened, wasn't it?
Yes.
But you said it happened on February 4th, right?
It was the beginning of February.
You're not sure of that?
Not now.
So, you're not sure if it was at the end of January or at the first of February?
It's been a long time since that passed, and I didn't write notes down. I have no way to check and make sure that that date is the actual correct date, but I do know that it happened after the mayor was sworn into office and before we had our February business after hours.
When was your February business after hours?
At the end of February. I don't even remember the exact date of that without checking records.
Okay. All right, so you're not sure of the date?
It was February 20-something.
I know, yeah, but you're not sure of the date of the conversation that you had with Mayor Luke?
I'm sure that it happened at the end of January or the beginning of February.
Okay. So, is this something that you do all the time, listen to other people's conversations without them knowing about?
Well, no, I certainly don't, but as a former newspaper reporter, when I see or perceive a transgression of an open meeting, then I'm inquisitive, and
So, what is tell me what is the definition of an open meeting act violation? You said it's a transgression of an open meeting. What is that?
conducting city business with a quorum without a duly advertised and posted meeting.
Okay, so what is a quorum in the city of Gordon for the council?
When I was working at the newspaper, my assumption for the city of Gordon was 3 members and the mayor of Gordon.
3 members and quorum, and the mayor of Gordon. That was your assumption?
For the council.
For the council.
For the committees, it was much smaller because traditionally the city of Gordon committees have been smaller, 1 or 2 members.
Okay. And when did quorums of committee members start being even relevant?
Well, I would guess as soon as it was written into the official code of Georgia is my assumption.
And when was that?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but it's section 50-40.
Okay. But you don't know about when the relevance of committee meetings became relevant for purposes of the Open Meetings Act. Okay. And you say that your understanding was that 3 members of the council was a quorum of the council, plus the mayor.
Of the council, yes.
All right, and so based on your understanding of that being a transgression, you felt that it was proper for you to listen to a conversation that you were not a party to, even though the other participants on that conversation didn't know you were listening to that conversation.
as far as being proper or not, but as far as, me being inquisitive about a violation of open meetings law, then I guess if you look at the Georgia Code as something that we should all strive to uphold, then I would say it's appropriate.
Now, who did you inform that you had overheard this conversation?
Underage supervisors.
At where?
David Franks, County Manager of Wilkinson County, Frank Wall, Chairman of the Development Authority of Wilkinson County, and Brian Sapp, the Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors.
So how did the plaintiffs in this lawsuit learn about you over here in this conversation? They just contacted you out of the blue one day? That's all I have.
Any further with this witness?
Mr. Jackson, you said that you testified in July 2014, I believe. Is that correct? And when you did testify back in 2014, if you stated that this event occurred on February 4th, 2014, would that still be accurate?
Yes, it was a long time ago, and my recollection of the dates were still a lot fresher than that.
Thank you. More questions?
Is he releasing this subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right, you are releasing your subpoena, you're free to go. I will sit up here testimony with any other witness. Allow any other witness, anybody else to discuss this testimony with you. You know, the corporation, of course, says you can't give the court and everything else takes place. You can say, if you go out and tell people what happened, you're not gonna be in here. So, any of it, anybody else, okay, so this matter is concluded. Thank you very much.
Your Honor, before I call our final witness, Mr. Kendall and I were conferring, the plaintiffs would like to tender what we marked as Exhibit 3B, which is February 3rd, 2014, City Council meeting minutes, and what we marked as plaintiffs Exhibit 3C, which is May 21, 2014, meeting minutes from the City Council. Those are meetings we discussed with other witnesses, and I believe Mr. Kendall is notable.
Are they numbered?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the plaintiffs would call Police Chief Mike Hall.
Mike Hall. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now and here, you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so that you got?
Yes, sir.
You have a seat. You see, please tell us your name.
My name is Rupert Michael Hall, go by the name of Mike.
Thank you, Chief Hall. My name is Devin Cooper. We've met occasionally before when I've been at some council meetings and things, but I don't feel that we've ever formally introduced ourselves, and I represent the plaintiffs of this action. Could you please introduce yourself to the court and tell us who you are and what you do professionally?
Like I say, my name's, I go by the name of Mike Hall, Chief of Police at the Gordon Police Department. I've been working there for 28 years, starting in February 1988. Same place I've been working at for all these years.
How long have you been the Chief of Police?
2001.
And do you recall meeting with the mayor on January 15th, 2014, and some other individuals?
Yes, sir, we met at City Hall and referenced my schedule for the dispatchers.
And do you recall who all was at the meeting?
Yes, it was the mayor, her husband, Basil Lou, Miss Reeves, Whipple, and Miss Barbara Towles.
And was Councilman Reeves there?
No, sir.
Okay. And what transpired at the meeting?
Remember,
I went in and sat down and, we just started discussing about making the schedule for my dispatchers, and the directive was for me to make a schedule out the way that they wanted the schedule to be made out for 12-hour shifts for dispatchers. The schedule I had made out is the same schedule I've been running for the last 14, 15 years.
Do you know if Councilwoman Tolles or Councilwoman Whipple or Mayor Lou or Basil Lou has any background in policing?
No, sir, none.
And you say the directive was to change your schedule to 12-hour shifts. Was there some threat to your job if you did not make it out that way?
Well, basically what was said was, the mayor told me that I either do it Barbara Child's way, which she was over at the police department, so you either do it her way or your way, and your way is the highway.
And prior to deciding that there should be 12-hour shifts, do you know what sort of investigation or analysis was given to this issue by Councilwoman Tolles and the mayor?
Well, the only thing that I know is I have 4 dispatchers there at the police department. The dispatchers I have 1 African American female, I have 2 white females and 1 white male working. Before this meeting took place, they have only talked with one of my dispatchers, which is African American female, is the only one they talked with, and she had made a recommendation she would like to have 12-hour shifts.
And did they ever talk to you prior to this meeting about this change?
Yes, we did we're supposed to have a meeting, Ms. Barbara Tiles and the mayor's supposed to have a meeting at the police department, and the mayor was unable to make it for that meeting, so Ms. Barbara Tiles came down and we discussed it, and I advised her at that time, I'm the one to make the schedule out. I'm not gonna make it out 12-hour shift. The schedule's gonna stay the same as it's been for the last 14, 15 years. And we discussed it close to about an hour that day, and finally I said, that's all I have to say about the schedule. I'm the chief, I'm the one that makes it out. That's part of my duties. I'm the one that makes the schedule out.
And you testified you've been the police chief since 2001. Between 2001 and this meeting on January 15th, 2014, have you ever had a mayor or a city council member insist on such minute changes within your department?
Since I've been chief, no, sir. Since I've been at the police department with the prior chief, no, sir.
And do you recall a change in the fuel policy for police cars and fire trucks in around May or June of 2014?
Yes, sir.
And were you consulted about that change in procedure prior to it being enacted?
Yes, sir. Actually, I went and I talked with the mayor about that, and we was at the Discovery Center. The mayor, Miss Barbara Tiles was there that day, and I was asking her about the gas pump. Why we having the lock put on it? It's a card reader. The only people who get to the gas pump, you have to have a card to actually put to the gas pump. But she said that being during her administration, she's gonna tighten things up, so forth. She put a lock on it. The time that we can access gas is, I can't remember if it was 84 or 95. The only time we could access gas. That's when I asked the mayor and Barbara Tiles about the access to gas. I said, we run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We need to have access to gas on evening, midnight shift, and the weekend. That's what they said, well, they just hire, they didn't think about it. So that's a good point. So we just hire somebody to work at part-time, run pump the gas to be off part-time.
And you said there was prior to the pump being locked, there was a card reader on it. Are you aware of any problems prior to this change in 2014 of Gordon employees and others taking their friends and family to the gas pumps and freely pumping gas for
No,
people?
sir.
As police chief, do you think you would have known about that if that was a problem?
I would say I wouldn't know about it, but the water street superintendent would know about it, Mr. Melvin Lawrence, because he's the one that kept up with the card reader. It tells you, every person has a certain number card that will stick in, and it would register, print it out, and it would tell you how many gallons this card here had put on it, and how the dates that, all the dates that was used. So if it was used on multiple, that card used on multiple times on the same day would be a big alert.
We've heard testimony about a variety of EOC complaints that have been filed, since the mayor took office, and we've heard that you filed 2. Can you tell the court about those? And I'm not asking for the resolution of the cases, the settlement amounts, I'm just asking the underlying basis for why you filed the complaints.
A lot of stuff just falls back on the way I'm told how to try to do things. The actions, the words said, like, we had a day at the, city barn. I was at the city barn with Melvin, and the mayor showed up with Miss Whipple and her husband, Basil Lou. And they was talking with Melvin, and they come up, while I was with Melvin, they come up and was talking with Melvin, and, the mayor had asked Melvin how many employees did he had working for him. He says, I have 5. Says, how many blacks? Says, I have 1. How many whites? Says, we have 4. Mr. Basil Lou said, no, that's unacceptable. And the mayor told Melvin that you need to keep a tight watch on these boys. Any of them gets out of line and does something wrong, the heads need to roll.
And what did you take from that? Why did that concern you?
But just to me, straight up, it was an issue saying that we don't have enough blacks working in Floyd with the city.
And when you filed your 2 EEOC complaints, have you been concerned about losing your job?
I most definitely have been.
Why?
You just worry. You just worry about it anyhow, because I know during the first time I've met with the mayor, when we had that discussion there at the city hall about the schedule, it was either my way, her way, or my way, and my way's out the door. And after that, there was an incident at the depot where he was changing the locks, and one of the other officers had a camera on from another jurisdiction, and one of the council members said, which is Mr. Tolles, had told the chief about the idea, asked him, do he want to work for the city of Gordon? Said, we need to get rid of some of this trash working for us, don't you want to be our new chief? And that's on camera.
And the January 15th, 2014 meeting, did you have that on camera as well?
Yes, sir.
You're all right, like, that's all I have right now.
Good, you overheard, say that was Basil Lou, said, would you want to be our new chief?
No, sir, it was, Ms. Barbara Tyler.
Now, oh. That was another jurisdiction, police officer?
Yes, it was actually, Chief John Richards, he was a former chief at, Ivy Police Department at the time. The video would come off of, the Ivy police officer, which was a body worn video that he had. Josh Martin was the, officer's name from Ivy.
Okay, Chief, my name is Wayne Kendall, I've been back before. I want to ask you a few questions. Has the mayor ever fired you?
She's never fired me, no, sir.
Has she ever told you she was gonna fire you?
She told me it was either their way or my way, and my way's the highway, and I advised I was gonna keep the schedule the way it was.
And that was on January 15th of 2014.
I guess it was that time of year. I don't remember the date.
And you said this was right after, she got, in office, right?
Yes, sir.
So that would have been in January of 2014, was that?
It should be around that time.
And you and her and Barbara told, had a meeting about police schedule, is that what you testified to?
We were supposed to have one, but the only one that showed up for that meeting was myself and Barbara Toles.
And what was the discussion about with you and Mrs. Toll?
Making a schedule out for the dispatch, 12-hour shifts.
And Ms. Toll wanted the shift to go to 12 hours?
Ms. Toles told me that she is only the messenger, giving the word for what the mayor says she wants done.
Okay, what were the shifts at that time? What time?
8-hour shifts, you may have a 16-hour shift, two 16-hour shifts once a month, but most of it stayed 8 hours, and the discussion was, if you make more than 8 hours a day, it's gonna be overtime. And I said, no, it's not gonna be overtime. You can work 16 hours without it being overtime, as long as you don't go to the 40 hours a week.
So, how many employees do you have there?
I have, 4 dispatchers and 1 tech, which fills in for the dispatch station. The terminal agency coordinator for GCIC, she's going to keep up GCIC, so that's 5 individuals that work in the office. And then I have 5 full-time police officers, plus, part-time officers.
How many part-time?
Right now I have, 4 part-time officers.
So you got a total of 10 full-time people, 5 in the office, 5 on the road.
Yes.
And then you got, 4 part-time.
Yes.
Police officers. And how much time do they generally work?
The part-time,
Yes.
it could be, per 2 weeks, it could be, anywhere from none to 2 to 3 days per week. Not each one of them, but I just swap every one of them out, try to give everybody the same amount of time. Sometimes I schedule, their days don't permit to work the days I have opening, that I need somebody to work because they're working somewhere else.
And you generally make a schedule for everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, did Ms. Toles tell you met with her, why Mayor was requesting the schedule change?
No, sir, she just said, 8 hours, you can't work no more than 8 hours a day per shift. Because that's what the law recommends us to, and they wanted to go with 12-hour shifts. I said, well, if you're gonna go with 12-hour shifts, now you say at 8 hours, you can't work more than 8 hours a day, now you're on 12 hours a day. But I just kept it the same schedule, but I've been keeping it in.
You remember when you filed your first EEOC complaint?
I remember a little bit about it, it's been 2 years ago.
Okay, and what was the reason that you claimed that you were being discriminated against?
Yeah, I basically have to look back at the complaint itself.
I mean, wasn't it because you were white?
That was one of the reasons, most definitely.
So, because the mayor asked you to change the schedule to a black woman, because you were being discriminated against because you were white man?
Yes, sir, because it was, they only talked with one of my employees, which is a black female, and got their opinion of what kind of schedule they want, because that dispatchers that came to me for wanted a 12-hour shift. I don't know if we, any way possible, we can have a 12-hour shift instead of the shift we have.
Is that employee still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she talked to the mayor himself?
She talked to the mayor, I think Mr. Reeves, I think Ms. Barbara, and Mr. Basil that came down to the police department. And I'm not sure which one it was, who all exactly talked with her. I couldn't say that the mayor talked with her because I didn't see. But she told me that she was asked by the mayor and council that was there that day and said that, you know, they asked her about the schedule, and asked her how she liked working down there, and asked her a bunch, you know, asked her a lot of questions, and asked about the schedule, because she's the one that came to me after we had the meeting about making the schedule 12 hours, and she came to me and apologized to me. She said, you know, I told them I like 12-hour shifts, you know, that would be my favorite to have, but I didn't know they was gonna try and make you put down 12-hour shifts.
Okay, so this employee, to your understanding, went to talk to somebody at the city. He gave you
It's when it was the same day, she was working the day. Okay, I'm sorry.
So this employee, black female dispatcher, indicated to you, told you that she went and talked to somebody down at the city, on the city council. You don't know exactly who. You don't know if it was a mayor or who exactly it was. But she expressed to them, those people or persons, that she wanted 12-hour shifts. And then you think that's what generated Barbara Tolles and the mayor coming to you and trying to impose 12-hour shifts on police department.
Yes, sir.
But you, of your own knowledge, don't know if this dispatcher actually spoke to the mayor or who she spoke to.
What I know is the mayor, her husband at the time, Mr. Basil, Ms. Doretha, Ms. Barbara was down at the police department. I come down, they came down, I invited them to make a tour of the police department, show them everything, show them, how some of the things work, and stuff like that. And during that time is when they had spoke with the dispatcher there at the police department. She did go to City Hall to talk to me anyway.
Okay.
The dispatcher's working that day when they was down. And they stopped and was, I seen, you know, asking questions, stuff like that, and, you know, I just carried on and went on about my business and took care of my business.
Okay, so you invited several people from the city council.
The new mayor and council members,
And was Mayor Lou part of that?
Mayor Lou was part of that.
Okay, so her and the new council people came down to the city at your invitation. And during the course of that visit, they spoke to this black female dispatcher.
Yes, sir.
And that's when this black female dispatcher told him of her desires to go to 12-hour shifts.
Yes, sir. They just asked about the dispatcher asked me about what kind of recommendations, you know, asked her, you know, what, do you like it down here? Do you see anything you'd like to improve or whatever? She says, well, I would like to have a 12-hour shift. And that's basically it.
Okay. And then, the mayor made the comment to you about, her way, or is Barbara Tolles made that comment?
The mayor did.
The mayor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Barbara Tolles' way or your way, which is the highway?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when was that made?
That was, the January,
That's January 15th?
I think it's January 15th. I don't have the date for me, so I couldn't really tell you.
Okay. Now, you were asked about the gas, and you said, I think you said, that you and Mrs. Tolles had a discussion about that, is that right? About changing the gas?
The mayor and Ms. Tolles, they was at the mayor and Ms. Barbara Tolles was at the Discovery Center
Okay.
when I come in to talk with them about the gas.
Oh, you went to talk to them about the gas?
Yes, sir. That's after I received the letter.
Have you received a letter from the mayor,
Yes, sir.
about changing the time?
Yes, sir.
Of when people can get gas? And you said that, you told them of your concern about needing gas at other hours other than 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever the time period was.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right? And what was the response?
The response was, we didn't think about that. I said, that's a good idea. We can hire somebody part-time to sit at the gas pump and pump gas for y'all.
Okay. So did the times get changed or not?
No, sir, it never got changed.
Never got changed. So it's like it's always been.
Yes, sir, it stayed like it's always been.
Okay. So, you filed your first EEOC complaint against the mayor because you've been discriminated because of your race being white male. And then you filed a second
same purposes, a lot of stuff that, the way I was being treated, some of the hints you have,
What?
some of the hints, you know, just, it's been a long time ago, I don't really remember everything unless I look at it back in writing. I'm not gonna say nothing as far as speculate or guess at it.
So, I'm just trying to understand what this is about.
There's a lot of videos, that was put out where she would discuss about myself, about the chief, and about the clerk that was posted on YouTube.
So you filed a complaint because of video?
No, not because of, that's part of it, too.
You filed an EEOC complaint because of video on YouTube? Is that what you're stating?
Part of it.
Well, I'm trying to get to, what is the specific complaint that you filed against her second go round? What did you lose? What did she do to you that caused you to file this second EEOC complaint?
Well, if I had the complaint with me, I could read it off and tell you exactly, because I'm not gonna give, speculate and mix words up and nothing like that.
But how many EEOC complaints have you filed?
I filed two.
Okay, so you filed 2 EEOC complaints in your entire life.
In my entire life.
And as you sit here today in court, you can't tell us why you filed a second EEOC complaint.
I can tell you basically a little bit about it, that's about all I can tell you. I can't go into detail, because I don't wanna tell you word for word and not know word
Do
for
the
word.
best you can.
Okay, yes, sir.
I'm kinda like, gentlemen, I can't believe you don't remember the basis of the EEOC complaint that you filed a year ago when you've only filed 2 in your life. Give it your best shot.
Well, we have, to me, I've been told not to communicate with her, not to come by her house, not for any reason, not to make a phone call for any reason. I would be in council meeting, and during the council meeting, sitting there, the mayor would say something, and then make a comment towards the person in the crowd. The person would say something back, we'd have to quiet the crowd down. The mayor would get frustrated because I wouldn't take a person out of the, any of the members of the city that was there during city council. So words would pass back and forth, then the mayor wanted me to escort him out, and I said, I couldn't escort him out at the time, so she would, had called, my sergeant, Tommy Williams, which is a black officer. She called for him, he was sitting in the back, she called for him to make him come and sit up front beside me. More or less saying, okay, well, and what I get out of it is, you're not doing nothing, that's gonna get somebody here beside you to do something.
That's why you filed the EEOC.
That's one of the reasons, yes, sir. I've had the same officer, Sergeant Reeves, she wanted him at every council meeting to give more or less a bodyguard for her. And he had quit coming, and I was accused of me taking him off schedule, not having him working during the council meeting nights, so he can come and take care of her, serve, and more or less be a bodyguard for her.
That's why you filed it.
That's, know some of the reasons why, the way I run my job, I felt like I was, talked down to. I was just a person to do what she says to do. She would ask for me to do certain things. I said, ma'am, I can't do it. This is illegal. You can't do it. The law says you can't do it. Well, I don't care what the law says. You're gonna do as I say.
Well, what kind of illegal things she did?
It was certain things at the council meeting. You know, if you want me to take people and eject them out of the city council meeting, have them escorted out.
Well, you did eject Jude out, didn't you?
One of my officers did, yes, sir.
Okay. And she sued the city for that, right? to the DA and had the DA to present an indictment to the grand jury, right?
Yes, sir.
So you had the mayor, you tried to have a mayor indictment, right?
Yes, sir.
So, shouldn't be unusual that the mayor doesn't trust you as a police chief. Do you have any problems with understanding that?
Then what, say that
Do you
again?
have a problem understanding why the mayor doesn't trust you as a police chief when you try to have her indicted?
That was, the trust has never been that strong with from day one.
Okay, right, that's because you heard that she was gonna fire you before she ever took office.
No, sir, didn't hear that.
You never
No,
heard
sir.
that?
Never
Nobody
heard that
ever-
before she took office. No, I didn't.
You did, okay. But your attempt to have her indicted failed, right?
Yes, sir.
The people here in Wilkinson County refused to indict her based on what you and Andy Hester tried to present to them.
Yes, sir.
And isn't it true that the district attorney told you to your face that this woman had not committed a crime and that you should back off of your attempt to have her indicted?
I'm Jack, as a hearsay.
No, I'm asking him, what, did the man tell him that? That's all I'm asking, what did he say that? I'm just asking, did he tell him?
It's hearsay.
And it
Well, it is
deals with
hearsay.
his-
Well,
Hold on a minute, it is hearsay, the question is whether or not there is admissible or exception to the hearsay.
Yes.
And I think it is admissible, and I'll allow it, I will rule the objection.
Did Mr. Bright tell you that you did not have a claim for her committing a crime, and he told you this in a meeting between you and Mr. Andy Hester, and you told you wanted to present it anyway?
no, sir, I'm gonna tell you the exact words that he had told me. That it was a bull crap thing. It's a bull crap law. That law, is a bullshit case, excuse my language, is exactly what he said.
Right, he told you that.
And he said that because the law showed what the charge was going for, giving a false statement, filing a false report. And you read it, you read the law, it covers what the video itself showed.
And you told, even though Mr. Bright told you it was a bullshit case, you told him you wanted to present it anyway, isn't that right?
We told him he did not want to touch it, and that's one of his words. He said, I do not want to touch this. I don't want to get involved in this. And we said, if you don't do it, will you just let somebody else look at it? Another DA's, from another region, another DA's office look at this.
So even though Mr. Bright, he's the chief prosecutorial officer in this circuit, right?
Yes, sir.
He's the man that you gotta go to in order to get a felony case indicted, right?
Yes, sir.
And he told you in no uncertain terms to your face and to Andy Hester's face that you had a bullshit case, and you insisted that you wanted that case presented anyway to the grand jury, right?
The officer's the one that made the insist on it,
Right.
because it was his case.
Right.
It was not my case, and I don't step in and override and take an officer's case, say, you're not gonna do this, or you're gonna do this. They make a case, I don't sit there and, for instance, if they make a DUI case, I don't say you're gonna drop this DUI case, you're gonna reduce this DUI case. If they want it to go whichever way, that's entirely up to them.
So you let your officer come down here and present that case to the Wilkinson County grand jury, right?
That's all.
And, did you come down here with him?
You know, I didn't, if I did come in here, I don't remember, I know I didn't go in there with him or nothing like that. I think I was at the DA's office up here at the time, but I wasn't in there.
And you were fully aware of every single piece of evidence that he was presenting to the grand jury, right?
Yes, sir.
And you encouraged him to go do this, right?
I didn't encourage him to do anything.
Okay. And the grand jury showed you that it was a bullshit case, right?
I don't know about that. Because, that wasn't the impression you used, is not the impression that is not the form that the DA's office used in. This case usually goes along with another case. If you lock somebody up and then you you interviewing them and getting a story from them and you taking their statement, then you find out that they lied and now they're giving you another statement, giving you a false statement. So that's where this is coming from.
So, you don't remember when you filed your second EEOC claim?
That's just about close to a year ago.
Okay. So you and the mayor, you trying to get the mayor indicted, you filed, two EEOC claims on, and you and your officer tried to get her indicted, right?
Yeah, she was trying, we did go to the courthouse to have her indicted.
All right, thank you, that's all I got.
You redirect?
Just briefly, Chief Hall, I may not be as educated as Mr. Kendall on some of the goings on in Gordon, but, he brought up this indictment and the case was the one that, what was the accusation about the mayor?
There was an incident outside the council chambers outside the building after right after the council meeting was over. The citizens was leaving, going outside. There was two citizens out there, they had a confrontation made. One swung at the other got his hand scraped, he fell over backwards. During that time, we talked with both individuals, more or less let the crowd disperse. We got statements the next day, or that night when we got back to the police department, we pulled the body camera off the officer, which was Andy Hester. He said I was standing at the door. He said maybe it caught what happened outside, so we reviewed it and watched it, and you see what happened outside to a partial extent. The lady swung a handful of keys at another guy that was standing in front of her. You hear a holler. You hear the keys. You hear a holler, and then you hear the man fall and holler. During video, watching it, the investigator, he's sitting there, Andy Hester, is talking with different people. Did you see something? Did you see anything? Did you see anything? The mayor said she seen the whole thing, and she was standing right in the doorway where it was actually Miss Catherine Wells that was outside, and Mr. Keith Grenade was outside where the confrontation was. So she was standing out there seeing the whole thing, and on the video, you know, there's no way where the mayor was standing at, she couldn't even see outside the door, and she said she was standing at the door and watching everything, and she gave a statement of everything that had happened. And that's where we come up with going to the DA's office, not giving a false statement. She even written one down. We went the investigator went to the city hall the next day, and the mayor was there, and he asked to get a statement from her. And she said she wouldn't give her a statement, said she was too busy, they had to make an appointment to talk to her. And she said that she will write a statement and get it to it, which we ended up getting a written statement from her about what was happening.
And even if she could have seen what occurred, and I understand you're saying she could not, was her statement consistent with what was on the videotape? As far as the altercation went?
No, sir, her statement was nothing like it was the altercation actually happened.
No further questions.
I don't have that first.
You releasing the subpoena?
He is, Your Honor.
Any objection? You are releasing your subpoena, you're free to go, or you may stay, do not discuss your testimony with any other witness or anybody else.
Yes, sir.
Don't discuss it, don't allow anybody else to discuss their testimony with you, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Go.
At this time, the plaintiff's arrest, Your Honor.
I got a motion.
Sir?
I have a motion, I reserve the verdict. I want to go through the complaint, the amended complaint. this is, claim that the defendant held meetings between February 6, 2014, and February 3rd.
Between what now, give me that again?
The complaint says in count one that the plaintiff, it says that the defendant held meetings between January 6th and February 3rd, 2014, which were not open to the public. The only meeting that we heard about in this case, within those dates, was January 17th meeting. And then, of course, counts 2, 3, 4, and 5 relate to that meeting. Well, excuse me, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and 4. And then count 5 specifically deals with January 17th. I can recall the only testimony I heard between January 6th and February 3rd, alleged meeting, was January 17th meeting. Count 5 relates to the January 17th meeting, so does count 6, count 7, count 8. So the first 8 counts, from what I can tell, all relate to the January 17th meeting. Because the first 4 counts says January 6th through the 3rd. She was sworn in on January 6th, 2014. And then it went through February the 3rd. I don't know of any other meetings other than the January 17th. Mr. Eby said that he thought that that was a call meeting at some point, or whatever date that was is not been specified in the complaint, to my knowledge, up through these first 8 counts. So January 17th, as the court has stated, is alleged to have been a meeting of the council. That's in your letter of June the 7th. It was a meeting of the council on January 17th. Now, the most, I guess you might call credible testimony about what happened on January 17th is what Mr. Eby said. He said he walked in the door, and that when he came into the door and went into the mayor's office, there were 2 council people in the office, and Mrs. Coles came in with him. The 2 council people were the mayor and Mr. Terry Reeves. And he said Ms. Coles, who opened the door for him, came in with him.
I think she had been in the meeting, he said he saw her in the county mayor's office, or at least he saw her come out of the mayor's office.
That's exactly correct.
Which would have put her and 2 others in the office with Basil Liu and Mrs. Whipple
And Ms. Brown.
and Ms. Brown. With only 3 council members, and the Supreme Court says 3, and the mayor is not enough.
Right, well, it actually would only been 2 in the mayor. Ms. Toles and Mr. Reeves, he said, were in the meeting, he thinks she came out of the meeting to open the door.
Okay.
So there's only been 2 in the mayor, in the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's his testimony, is that they were in there working on paying bills, and big stack of bills on the table, Ms. Brown sitting on the end of the table. And then afterwards, he doesn't know who called him. Smallwood showed up, and Densley showed up. And he was, of course, was there. But obviously, they weren't there having a meeting, they came after he came. And he wasn't there to have a meeting. So these first 8 counts fall out based on this January 17th meeting, which does not meet the criteria for a city council meeting, which the court has said that your understanding of the complaint is that the allegation was that there was a council meeting on this January 17th date. Count 9 is January 21st.
Just give it over now to let me start.
You've already dealt with 9. You've already thrown that out. Then we got count 10. Count 11. I think it's still count 10.
13 deal with February 6th.
Count 10 through 13. I don't remember any testimony coming in here about February 6th meeting. I've gone through my notes. I don't recall anything about a February 6th meeting. That's 10 through 13. Count 14 is about a February 7th meeting. You don't recall anything about a February 7th meeting? Maybe I'm mistaken, Mr. Cooley can point it out, and Mr. Barr can point it out. I don't remember anything about February 7th meeting.
February,
February 6th and 7th. Now we up to count 18. He's talking about February 20th meeting. There again. I don't remember anything about February 20th. Nobody testified about February 20th meeting that I recall.
I have to look at my notes, and I've got two bright young men over there taking notes, so
Okay.
we'll figure it out.
Now we up to count 22. This is about improper handling of personnel files. The testimony was that some personnel files that the clerk had in her office, four individual personnel files were found on the mayor's desk. And that the allegation is that this constitutes incompetent misfeasance and malfeasance on the part of the mayor. The testimony being that Ms. Brown gave the mayor the key to her office, to her file cabinet. And so therefore the assumption is that the mayor, nobody said they saw the mayor take the files out of the file cabinet and put them on her desk, or how they got on her desk in her office. The testimony was that Mr. Reeves found the files, and I think actually offered a document saying that he had found the files on the mayor's desk in the mayor's office. That was the testimony. So we have to extrapolate from that somehow the mayor is incompetent, misfeasant, and malfeasant because 4 personnel files that were located in the clerk's file cabinet ended up on her desk. That's the testimony that we got. Nobody's testified about how they got there. Nobody's testified that they saw the mayor move the file. And more importantly, how does, even if they did see the mayor move the files, how does that translate into incompetence, malfeasance, misfeasance in office? That the mayor moved some files from one location in the city building to another location on her desk in the city building. That's count 22. Improper transfer of city resources is count 23. There they talk about in paragraph 209, the $10,000 check from Mr. Bassett. We heard much about that. That the city council voted to hire the man, that the city council failed in the vote to approve his engagement agreement and to pay him $10,000. And there was a check signed by Tawana Brown and Mr. Smallwood for $10,000, and that the mayor wrote a memo authorizing that money to be paid to Mr. Bassett. After, of course, the city council voted to have an audit, and without the city council having approved the payment of the money. And therefore, she's incompetent, misfeasant, and malfeasant in office because of that. Well, at the very worst, it's a case of not having clear direction from the city council as to what they want. On one hand, they hired the man, and then they didn't vote to pay him. You heard Mr. Jensen testify that it was his expectation that the man was going to start work, and it was also his expectation that if the man started work, he was going to get paid. The question was when and how much. That was his testimony. So he's a plaintiff in the case, and even he says that it was expected on the part of the city that the man would get paid and that the man would start work after the city voted to hire him. So, at the worst case, it's a case of the city council not had to give the mayor and the other administrative officers of the city clear direction, and the mayor took the bull by the horn and authorized the people responsible for writing the check, Ms. Brown and Mr. Smallwood, to go out and pay the man. That's the best we could do with that, from the evidence that's been presented. Count 24 is for attorney's fees and expenses of the litigation. They've said that that's out. They started out yesterday morning, said they're not asking for any fines, penalties, or attorney's fees against the city board. Count 25, failure to open the meeting to the public. Now, this is a meeting where they say happened on February 4th, where the evidence is, of course, that on February 3rd, the day before, just the day before, and actually the night before, on February 3rd, there was a minute of a meeting with the evidence showing that people were assigned in groups of 2 and 3 to committees. And that there were these committees that were established. So we gotta believe that the very next day, this particular committee that's involved in this count, which is alleged to be, well, it doesn't say which committee, it just says a quorum of a committee consisting of Terry Reeves, Tommy Smallwood, and Barbara Toll, held a gathering in the mayor's office. And the testimony from Mr. Jackson was that he overheard a conversation. He originally testified that it was on February 4th. Today he said he can't remember when it was. It could have been in the end of January or the first part of February. He's not sure what date it was, but he thinks way back then when he testified previously that it was on February 4th, and there was this discussion going on about certain city employees and who might be terminated. Obviously, this is not a meeting of the council. When this count was first alleged way back when, in March of 2014, the allegation was that this was a meeting of the council. Now, of course, in January, the Supreme Court has made their ruling and ruled that you can't have a meeting of the council with 3 people. They've gone back and changed the target, and now they're saying, oh, well, this was some committee quorum that was going on February 4th, the very next day after they decided to go appoint these committees. Frivolous. Just plain up frivolous. Comes at after they go, the first allegation can't work, they come back, change the allegation. Now that's got to do with counts 20.
It's count 25.
It's count 25, but it also goes over into count 26, 27, and 28. Okay. Now, count 29 is improper disclosure of confidential information. We have no evidence about this. They simply say that the mayor gave her husband unlimited access to the city's confidential files. I don't know where that came from. We've heard no evidence about it. We did have evidence that Mr. Luke was in the office initially during the month of January, and talking to city employees, but as far as having access to confidential files, I don't really recall any evidence whatsoever about that. There was evidence that the city clerk gave the mayor the keys to her file cabinet, but there's no evidence that the mayor went in and looked at files in the file cabinet. I don't remember any testimony that the mayor went into her office and got the files and looked at any files. There's certainly no evidence whatsoever that Basil Lou went into the file and looked at the file. There's not even any evidence that the mayor looked at the file. The only evidence that came in was that they found 4 personnel files. Personnel files are not confidential. The only thing confidential in a personnel file is a social security number, and if there's a cell phone number in there under the Georgia Open Records Act, that's the only information the city, I don't know that that information is confidential even to her. It's confidential to the public. Anything else in an individual city employee's personnel file, their performance history, their work history, their performance evaluation, that's not confidential information. The only thing that could be confidential is a social security number, a cell phone number, essentially that's it. And there's no evidence that Basil Lou had access to any of that information. No evidence that the mayor even looked at any of that information, even if it was confidential, which I don't think it is as to her because she's the head of the agency that's responsible for maintaining those records. Then count 30 is attempt to form unauthorized contractual agreement. Here again, we're talking about Mr. Basket. Basically, this is the same thing that we talked about with the use of city resources.
30 particularly is which one then?
This is number 30.
What's the particular referring to?
Mr. Basket said that the mayor attempted to form an unauthorized contractual agreement, and therefore she's incompetent in malfeasance. And it goes on to talk about.
Because she allegedly signed that letter of engagement without approval of the council. That's right.
That's what that's about. And then 31 is unauthorized uses of city funds, and that's about, well, what it talks about is unapproved forensic audit, and the fact that she told the clerk to make every effort to help Mr. Basket. Again, we're talking about the audit situation. There was testimony about whether or not the mayor is incompetent and malfeasant because she told the clerk to assist with an audit that the council had voted to have. I think it's an extreme stretch to say that somebody's incompetent in office for asking the city employee to abide by what the council had voted to do, which was to authorize an audit. Now, they may not have authorized the payment, but they did authorize the audit. So how can you say that her asking somebody to be cooperative with the auditor is evidence of malfeasance and incompetence? And then you got the last count, which is not the last, next to the last count, which is count 33.
Number 32.
32 is, oh, I'm sorry, 32, undue harassment of city personnel. This count is that the mayor harassed Ms. Brown about not signing an additional check to William Basket. And that she got rid, I think she got rid up as a result of it. So that's what that's about. Then count 33 is use of city funds. And it says here that the mayor issued city funds, the city credit card, and city resources, and she confiscated the mail keys and refused to timely distribute the mail to the proper city officials. I don't remember any testimony about any mail not being properly distributed. I do remember testimony about credit cards, and the allegation there was that sometime by Mr. Edie's that the mayor had used, had paid, and Mrs. Toles had paid for a meal. You don't have any credit card receipts. You don't have any testimony as to really as to how they violated the city policy, other than him saying that they bought the credit cards were supposed to be used for I think travel, but he said they were out of town. There was no reference to whether or not they were on city business or not on members from voting in favor, and therefore the motion failed. So, it makes no sense.
If she changed her mind.
Maybe she did.
Their allegation is that she didn't have the authority to do it without council approval.
Yeah.
And even though even though the plaintiffs were in favor of it, they made that clear at the beginning and opening statement, they were in favor of it. But when it didn't pass, she did not have they claimed she did not have the authority to move it without council approval.
Yeah, and they can't prove, they put up no evidence whatsoever to show that it was against city policy. They only said that sometime way back 15 years ago, there was a motion made at a council meeting, and they decided that you needed council approval. And I asked them, where was the ordinance that says that? Now, there is no ordinance.
City, he said, Evie said that's just city policy.
City policy. I mean, how are you supposed to know what city policy when it's not written? If it's not written, it basically doesn't exist. So the mayor moved the money, she had authority to move the money from the council by virtue of the resolution that the council had passed.
It was the written resolution.
The written resolution, and she moved the money into an account of the city, so that's just moving money from one box to another box to pay city money. I mean, I don't get it. So, I mean, but they say she's incompetent, malfeasant, and should be removed from office because of it. Judge, we've been at this a long time in this case. 30 months, to be exact. I like workers in county. I get lost out here a lot. These roads, but I'm hoping, I like to come back to visit, but I really don't want to come back to deal with this case anymore. I've been here enough. I've done enough tours of Wilkinson County. At this point, some point, this case has ended. And I can tell you that if the mayor is removed from office, it's not gonna be over with. And I would like for it to be over with, and I think that it should be over with.
We can deal with motion for
Oh,
the
yeah.
verdict now. We'll get the oral arguments,
Well, I'm hoping I don't have
main
to
case,
get the oral
if we get that far, yeah.
I'm hoping I don't have to give a closing argument.
Yeah, I understand.
But, Judge, they had to prove that case. This case, as I've said before, was misconstrued from the beginning. It was ill played. It's still a dog of a case. Nothing has changed. They haven't proved the case. As best you can give them, and my wildest, is that if you discredit everything that we know that's in these pleadings and that we have filed, that they may have a claim for a committee meeting on February 4th if you accept the testimony of Jonathan Jackson from back in July of 2014, which he can't even say what date the meeting was today, that he didn't know when the meeting was. And that 3 people were in a room at the mayor's office, and he was listening on a phone call that he should have been listening on. And they were talking about some city business. There's no allegation that anybody took a vote on anything or anybody decided anything. And I think the cases, if you look at the cases, I've looked at some recently in another case that having to do with recall, where people have alleged that particular officials should be recalled because they made open meetings act violations. And the courts have stated that when you allege a violation of the Open Meetings Act, you got to state a date, a time, who was present, what was discussed, and what was voted on. And nobody,
You have to have a vote. If a vote was taken, you might have to say, I don't think it requires a vote to be a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Now granted, a vote would be a violation, but I don't think a vote is required to violate the Open Meetings Act. It's been changed because I think if you got the right people there, and that's all arguable, but, and they discuss city business without it being open to the public, then that
she had a meeting with a committee, less than 24 hours after the council met. The minutes weren't even approved at that point. There was not even a summary of the meeting done at that point, because you don't have to do a summary until 2 days after the meeting. So you can't really even say that this action was official to do these committees until after the minutes are approved. Now, all the rest of it, that's what we down there. And that's, whatever count that was, can't remember what count it was. Number 15. We down to removing the mayor because she participated potentially, if you believe certain testimony as to the date that this meeting occurred, by less than 24 hours, she would have violated a committee meeting constitution. And I think that's very, very, very thin evidence. I don't want to get too far afield here, but that's very thin evidence to let this case go forward.
Thank you, sir. Did you give it regard to the February 3rd minutes?
It's not a statement, Your Honor, but it lists on page 2 or 3, the assignment of committee members.
So Smallwood, police committee.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'll let you respond, and then we'll take a break for lunch, and I'll consider all this and come back.
Absolutely. Well, Your Honor, first of all, I think Mr. Kendall did unfortunately get a bit of field because the law in Georgia is on a motion for directed verdict. The evidence has to be construed most favorably to the non-movement, the plaintiffs in this instance. And the denial of a motion for directed verdict is proper if there's any evidence to support a verdict. So we have to view the case as it sits right now, not as to how the court is likely to rule at the end of the case, but as to whether or not there's any evidence.
I'm pretty well versed on
I-
the law with regard to the written verdict.
I'm sure you are. What I will say is, we were unable to substantiate our claims as to the February 6th, 2014 meeting and the February 7th, 2014 meeting. And that would account for counts 10 through 17.
Would you agree that 10 through 17 are out?
Yes, Your Honor. But as to the rest of the complaint, the second amended complaint, I believe there is, in every instance, at least some evidence to support the finding of in the affirmative for the plaintiff.
Let's go to 1 through 8.
I'm headed there right now.
All right.
With regards to 1 through 4, and we set this forth in our letter, the meeting we refer to as a January 15th, 2016 police committee meeting. Under the initial committee structure at that time, you have Councilwoman Tolles present. You also have Councilman Reeves. Councilwoman Whipple and Mayor Lou. Councilman Reeves was not there. Chief Hall just talked about this meeting, and even under the new structure of the committee that was announced on February 3rd, maybe 18 days or so later, you still have a quorum of that committee present under either structure. The reason, and we've talked about one-person committees and the effect that has and the court's concern about that, but we're not talking about a meeting where the mayor and the committee member are meeting and doing nothing. We're talking about a meeting that occurs between the two of them, and they bring in the chief, and they tell him, you will be changing these policies, whether he did it or not, whether he was insubordinate or not. They tell him you will change these scheduling policies. They've got no rationale for it that they enunciate other than it's our way or the highway. No background in law enforcement. So we think under the light most favorable to us, is the non-movement, there is evidence of a January 15, 2016 meeting. January 17, 2004, I'm sorry, January 15, I said 2016, but I meant 14. With regards to counts 5 through 8, I acknowledge right now that I'm a little befuddled as to what occurred. But the fact of the matter is, while Councilman Edie says initially there's not a quorum and then there is a quorum and we discuss a few things and then I leave, the fact is Tawana Brown said that there was a period when the entire council was present. Freddie Dinsley said there was a period.
How do you put that on the mayor? I mean, as I hear the evidence, the mayor was there, Reeves, they asked Brown to stay late to look over the invoice. So they wanted to go over the invoice.
Right.
Then, apparently, at some point in time, Coles joined. So you got Reeves, Coles, and the mayor there.
Right. And I think Whipple was already there.
Whipple left
Perhaps.
before he got there, according to
According to
Edie, your client.
Right.
When he got there, Coles came out of the mayor's office, came to the front door, let him in. At that time, then Edie's there, Coles, and Reeves. Then, the black gentleman that was on the council, Dinsley, came, he just came. And then Smallwood came. I don't know how, under those facts, you put that on the mayor, unless you've got some evidence that she called them all to come there for a meeting, and there's no evidence that she did. She obviously didn't call Edie to come there.
I acknowledge that. I just don't think that the law requires her to call them specifically. I think it requires the people who are there to participate in a discussion of city business, whether they all arrived there randomly or she called them to come.
But your clients were two of the ones who were there, and without your clients, there's not a quorum.
According to Councilman
According to the Supreme Court,
well,
if
right.
Edie and Dinsley were, and they're your clients, if they were not there, Whipple was already gone. That leaves Smallwood, Toes, and Reese, and the mayor. And that's not a quorum according to the Supreme Court. The mayor can meet with Reese, Smallwood, and Toes without there being an open meeting violation. So your interpretation would allow your clients to show up and create an open meetings violation for which they want to hold the mayor responsible and them not be responsible. And I don't know how that can fly, because that defies logic.
Well, no, my point is that there was evidence, and Tawana Brown also discussed that meeting extensively, and she was there. And Clerk Brown testified that her recollection was very clear and that all the council members were there, that Edie and Dinsley did eventually join, but by the time they got there were already 4 people there, and then they left. And that was consistent with Councilman Dinsley's recollection. So as to a motion for directed verdict, I think there's some evidence. It's, like I said, it's a little befuddling to try to rationalize all of it, and I don't know what I would say in a closing argument, but as to whether or not there's evidence in support of it, there is.
Now, I have to check that. My notes don't reflect that Brown said they were all there, but I don't have as complete a notes as I want. I'll meet with my brain trust over there and we'll review that.
Well, I appreciate that. I think she said it both on direct and under cross-examination, Your Honor. She talked about it extensively, and Mr. Kendall tried to shake her away from that notion, and she was adamant that they were all present. She testified that, and this was on cross-examination, on January 17, 2014, it was a Friday night, there were more than 4 council people there. She testified that council people Tolles, Reese, Smallwood, and Whipple were there, and were discussing city business and discussing firing people, although they didn't discuss firing her. And then eventually, council people Edie and Dinsley walked into the meeting, and Edie.
Now, if that's her testimony, even though that's in conflict with Edie, that would be
Right.
evidence, some evidence.
Right.
Go ahead.
We've addressed count 9 already, and then we addressed at the outset of this argument counts 10 through 17. With regards to counts 14 through 21, this involves an allegation of a February 20th, 2014 meeting. Both Councilman Edie and Tawana Brown testified as to this meeting. This was not a full council meeting, it was a finance committee meeting, and the finance committee at that time on February 20th, this is after the February 3rd shift, was comprised of Mayor Lou, Councilman Smallwood, and Councilman Reese, and indeed there's documentary evidence of this meeting because they're all signing these notes and these memos to have checks issued to Bill Baskin. There's a note, a handwritten note from Councilman Reese, there's a check signed by Tawana Brown and Councilman Smallwood, and both Terry Edie and Tawana Brown said that it was, Tawana said she saw the three of them meeting and discussing this invoice from Basket and paying him, and Edie said it was clear to him from the initials on the memos that they had met, they would have to. With regard to count 22, improper handling of personnel files, I don't think to prove that we have to prove that Mayor Lou proactively pulled files from the cabinet and handed them out. I think it's sufficient that she improperly seized Tawana Brown's keys to GCIC files, confidential personnel files, and whether she herself pulled out files from the file cabinet or just allowed other people to have her keys and pull out what they want, it's evident that the files end up missing because there are memos that we've introduced into evidence. Councilman Reese even complained about the missing files. Former Mayor Turner wrote about his missing file, and then they end up on the mayor's desk. So whether she mishandled them or she just was negligent in her handling of the keys, the fact is there are confidential files floating around the office, and that had never happened before. So we think there is evidence in support of count 22. In support of count 23 regarding the improper transfer of city resources and this vote to retain Bill Basket, the fact of the matter is, and Councilman Edie talked about this in his testimony this morning, provision, there's section 6.30 of the Charter of Gordon is very explicit that contracts between the city of Gordon and any contractor other than the State Department of Transportation and I think maybe a road construction company have to be in writing. There was never a written contract authorized with Bill Basket. Funding for his contract was never approved. And whether they voted initially to hire him to do an audit, they never came to terms with his contract under the terms of the charter. And it was clear that he was not supposed to be working for the city of Gordon. And the mere fact that the mayor allowed him to run up to expend a $10,000 retainer that was improperly paid, and then run up another $21,000 in fees before he stopped. I'm sorry for Mr. Basket, but he didn't have a contract. He hadn't even sued the city about his contract. So, you know, I think that there is evidence to support count 23. 24 will move past because it was an initial council attorney's fees. With regards to counts 25 through 28, I think even Mr. Kendall acknowledges that Jonathan Jackson, his testimony is sufficient to carry the day on a motion for directed verdict, and indeed, the very people who are alleged to be in the meeting discussing the termination of Chief Hall comprise the police committee. I don't think it's coincidental. I don't think it's coincidental it's the day after the police committee was appointed. So, but even if it was, it's still, they're discussing the termination. The police committee is actively discussing the termination of Chief Hall's appointment, among other things. And then that takes us to count 29, which is the improper disclosures of confidential information. And this regards Basil Liu having unlimited access to the city's confidential files, including personnel records, financial records, and access to the city's safe. You know, both Tawana Brown yesterday and Heather Palmer this morning testified about this. He was given free reign of City Hall. He was behind the counter in the clerk's office frequently. He wandered around. He was given access to the safe. He had access, seemingly, according to Tawana Brown, to the confidential files and the personnel records. And one thing that is clear is, even though he may not count towards a quorum or count towards these meeting he's intimately involved during his lifetime with the government of the city of Gordon once his wife is elected. And that's fine, I don't fault them for that. But the fact is, he did have access to their confidential information. And she's either pulling out confidential files that he and others have access to, or she's negligent with those keys. Count 30, attempt to form an unauthorized contractual agreement. I think the court hit the nail on the head. This pertains to Bill Baskett's contract. It pertains to the fact that the mayor signed it, despite the fact that it was never approved. It pertains to the fact that he ran up $21,000 in fees for an audit that was the approval of which was never finalized. So I think there's evidence to support count 30. Count 31, unauthorized usage of city resources. This goes back to the fact that in the memo from the mayor to Tawana Brown, she instructed Ms. Brown to cooperate fully with the auditor and do anything that he asked. And the only person who was a limit or a check and balance on what Bill Baskett could have was Bill Baskett. And he was going through personnel files, and he was going through a variety of records, and they were having to constantly pull documents for him. And he was utilizing the city employees and resources in furtherance of an unapproved audit. And
Is 31 being the money or just him getting access to the file?
you know, the way it's structured is it's really the access to the files and the use of resources. I think 31 and the prior usage of city resources kind of blend together.
One of them deals with the 10,000,
Right.
23 deals with the $10,000 check.
That's right.
And then 31 deals with just access to files and all that.
And using the resources of the employees and the copies and things. Yes, sir. And then 32, undue harassment of city personnel. This pertains to Ms. Brown as it's cast in the complaint. It could also pertain to Chief Hall, but the fact of the matter is Ms. Brown has been written up for insubordination twice, both times for doing what she thinks was right and what was required of her by the law. And the insubordination write-ups were not used to legitimately document insubordination or improper behavior. It was used to try to pressure Ms. Brown to sign checks that were improper. So there's certainly evidence of that. And just Ms. Brown's demeanor on the stand, especially at the end of her testimony, and her nervousness and apprehension evidences, when she testified about the continual tension in the office. Count 33, misuse of city funds and resources, and this pertains back to the credit card use in Dublin and Milledgeville, which no one's ever testified about any conference or any retreat or any proper expenditure in Dublin or Milledgeville. Councilman E was adamant that those were not mills that should be reimbursed under the city policy, so there's...
But he doesn't know if they were on city business or not.
Well, nobody testified that the credit card was not used when you were on city business, it was used for lodging in mills when you were traveling to these conferences. Was his
There's no
testimony.
written policy that says that.
He said it was in a, we didn't introduce it, he said it was in the credit card, resolution.
I don't have a credit card resolution that says that, and if they went to Milledgeville to meet with the mayor of Milledgeville, or the mayor and council of Milledgeville to learn about how they do something, or they went to Dublin to meet with the officials over there about, they've got a way of doing this, or way of doing that, they're trying to learn, wouldn't that be city business?
It
Just
could,
like going to the seminar?
it could be, that wasn't what he testified the card would be used for.
I understand, he testified that his understanding that the card was only to be
Understand.
used for those January meetings and the summer meetings.
I understand.
Atlanta and Atlanta, but I'm just,
And playing devil's advocate, I agree with you. He also started testifying in cross-examination about the use of city funds to take not Basil Liu to the summer conference in January of this year, but to take them there of another city. So, you know, there's some testimony.
the truth of the matter is I understand the law, they're all violating the law, but they're taking grandchildren and the city's paying the expenses for grandchildren to eat. If you can all stay in the same room together, judges, when judges go to judges' conferences, they pay for my room and my wife can stay there. They don't pay for her to go to the reception, they don't pay for her to go to dinner, they don't pay for any of that. I have to pay all that myself, and I certainly could not put my grandchildren on the expense statement, and I paid all them something, so I think they all violate the law.
That's my
As I
recollection.
understand.
That's my recollection from when I was a state law clerk. So, evidence of that first goes back to the charter, which is very strict about how the budgeting process works and who can approve
I
what.
don't understand, I still, I understand what Mr. Edie told me, I tried to understand it, but this is just transferring money from one account of the city to another account of the city. It's not affecting the budget, it's not changing the budget, it's not modifying the budget, it's just saying, you got this, the one fund account is nothing more than a savings account of the city. It's sponsored by GMA, they get a little more interest
Right.
in that account, the GMA, than they can go into the local bank. But it's just, okay, we got this money that we built up in reserve, and we're gonna put it in, instead of putting it in, what bank did they say they bank with? I forget.
Morris Bank.
Instead of putting it in Morris Bank, we're gonna put it in the Jones County Bank, or whatever county, or the Bank of Jordan, if there is a bank. And they just decided to put it in a different bank. And I don't see how just transferring money from one city account to another city account gets involved in those 6.3 or 6.2 and all those different charters,
Well, I think,
references that you made.
as I understood what Councilman Edie was saying, and as I understand the charter, the fact of the matter is and I can understand how you would see the Georgia Fund 1 account as just a separate bank, but it is interest bearing at a higher rate. And as I understand the budgeting process, and Councilman Edie was trying to explain this, if they were gonna transfer money from that bank, that account, that would be listed as a certain source of income. It's not really like, from the city of Gordon's budgeting process, it's not like, for instance, I have a local bank in Macon that I run my reimbursements through, and I have another bank I use for my checking account. It's not like switching money between my two checking accounts. It's like going to my savings account, withdrawing my savings as an income line item, which wasn't approved. And if you look at other instances where that's done, whether it's on nonprofit boards or other municipalities, when you're going to dip into your savings account, for instance, on a Boy Scout executive board, you're gonna dip into your investment portfolio to pay your operating costs. That requires board approval, or it requires council approval in the municipality concept, because yes, it's your savings, but you never budget to withdraw your savings and use it as income. And you're changing the long-term financial future, perhaps, of your city, or I mean, the savings account could go belly up, it doesn't matter, but in theory, you're changing the long-term financial future. So we do think it matters, and critically here, also, Your Honor, I would note that I forget if it's the February 3rd or the February 3rd or the May 21st minutes that were admitted, either exhibit 3B or 3C. There are examples throughout the minutes of the city of Gordon, including either 3B or 3C, where every time money is withdrawn from the Georgia Fund 1 account, there's always a resolution and there's always approval. So even if it's a unique aspect of Gordon, that's the way it's always been done. And here, what's critical is not only was it unapproved, but it was expressly unapproved. It's not like she just went, transferred $150,000 that had never been discussed. I don't think that was proper either. But here it was discussed and it was expressly disproved. So in any event, as far as a motion for directed verdict goes, we think there's evidence to substantiate the counts other than the ones we've withdrawn, which would be 10 through 17, and then of course count 9. So.
Thank you very much. We'll take a break for lunch. We'll try to start back at 1:30. I'm a few minutes beyond that, meeting with my law clerk and some intern. Y'all wait for it. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
See, I told you I was coming back without it.
All right. Thank you, may be seated. All right, I reviewed the, motion for the verdict, and, some of these things were already out, but some of them were in. So here we go. With regard to counts 1 through 8, there is testimony that on February the 6th, back up. All right, 1 through 4. There is testimony that on January 15th, the one-person committee, police committee, met with the mayor. Now, I agree with you that if you got a one-person committee, they can't meet by themselves. So her being at the city hall by herself, doing whatever, cannot be a violation. Because it just doesn't work that way. But in that case, there is testimony that she did meet with the mayor, and there was a meeting at that point in time, so I think that is technically a violation, and it 1 through 4 would stay in. 5 through 8, the January 17th alleged meeting of the city council. The evidence is in conflict. Mr. Edie testified that Whipple was not there when he got there, and Smallwood did not get there until after he did. But Kirk Brown testified that prior to Edie getting there, Whipple, Coles, Reeves, and Smallwood were all there meeting with the mayor. If that is true, and for the purposes of a motion for the directed verdict, I have to take the evidence most favorable to the plaintiff as being true. And so that would technically, that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act as interpreted by our Supreme Court, because there would be 4 council members and the mayor. As I said, the fact that the evidence is in conflict doesn't remove that evidence as being present. It's still evidence that is in the record. Count 9's out, counts 10 through 17 are out. As to the February 20th meeting, there is testimony from Ms. Brown that the Finance Committee met on that day, consisting of Mayor Lou, Councilperson Reese, and Councilperson Smallwood. So that, if that evidence is believed, that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act. As to the improper handling of personnel files, number 22, count 22, that would be, the evidence is circumstantial, but under the new rules of evidence, circumstantial evidence is given the same weight as direct evidence, and the circumstantial evidence is that the mayor had the clerk's keys. The clerk said she did not remove those files. Files were removed and were later found in the mayor's office, so that is circumstantial evidence, at least, of the mayor leaving personnel files with some classified or not classified, but private information in them out of the filing cabinet, where it should have been kept. So 22 would remain in. 23, the $10,000 check to Mr. Basket, clearly not budgeted and not yet authorized by the council, according to the testimony, and that would remain in. Count 24 is out. Count 25, the failure to open the February 4th meeting to the public. I don't find it of any importance that the committees weren't established until February third, there were still a committee established on February third, the police committee being Mr. Toll, or councilperson Toll and Smallwood, and then we have evidence of them having a meeting with the mayor on February fourth without going through the procedures required by the Open Meetings Act, so 25 through 28 meeting in. 29, I've heard all the testimony about Mr. Basil Lou being in the city council chamber, and the city hall, and here and there and everywhere else, but I don't find any testimony that would support any improper disclosure of confidential information to him during that time, so 29 is out. When I say out, that means I'm granting the motion for the verdict, that's number 29. As to number 30, the mayor clearly was not authorized to sign that agreement with Mr. Basket, letter of engagement. Council has not approved it, it's required to be approved by the council, so number 30 stays in. Number 31, using the city people to support Mr. Basket. I find that not to be sufficiently supported by the evidence, and I grant the motion for the verdict as number 31. I don't see any way that that can rise to the level of malfeasance, so the motion as to 31 is granted. As to 32, harassment of city personnel, there's sufficient evidence of that to go forward, so that is denied. Number 33, misuse of city funds by using the credit card. There's no evidence that the credit card was not allowed for that purpose. Other meetings in other places, the policy was not introduced into evidence. There's no evidence that she and the council person were not on city business in Milledgeville and or Dublin. So I don't find that there's any misuse of city funds shown in the evidence, so I grant the motion for directed verdict, I should say, as to number 33. And I grant the motion for directed verdict as to number 34. City funds or city funds in a bank or wherever they are, and they're city funds. And when you pass a budget, to be paid for out of city funds wherever they are. And I think this is just a matter of one bank account to another, and I don't think that would rise to the level of any malfeasance or misfeasance. And the written document clearly says that Ms. Brown could have taken that money out of the One Georgia fund and put it back in the city's money. The mayor could take it out of the One Georgia and put it back in the city's bank account. As could Reeves, because he was on the finance committee. Any one of them could have signed it to move the money over. They can't spend it for themselves, so they can move it back into the city's account. And why it was done the way it was done is mystery to me, based on facts and evidence that I've heard, but that's the way it was. But in any event, directed verdict is granted as 34. All right. We're going to have to go quickly. I hope y'all are able to keep the scorecard. And we're now ready to hear any evidence that the defendant wants to present.
Yes, sir. Just want to make one clarification. 5 through 8 are out, is that right? That's on the January 17th meeting.
No, they're in because the evidence is in conflict, but I get back and check my notes and the law clerk and intern's notes, and Brown said in her testimony that prior to Edie arriving, Whipple, Toles, Reese, and Smallwood were there in a meeting with the mayor. Now, I understand that Edie says Smallwood didn't get there until after he did. But in a directed verdict context, I have to interpret the evidence most favorable to the person against whom the motion is made, and that in this case would be the plaintiff. So if Brown's testimony is accurate, then those 4 were there meeting with the mayor prior to Mr. Edie and Vinsley getting there.
All right, well, I'll call.
And I think on my notes, transcript reveals something different later on, that'll be something I'll have to look at. Now, you may proceed.
Yes, I'm gonna call Robert, excuse me, Mr. Whipple.
Before you receive it, please raise your right hand. And swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case now and hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat.
Just state your name for the record. Okay, you're a councilwoman at the city board, is that correct?
Yes.
And when were you elected councilwoman?
Okay. In 2000, and I took office in 2014, January.
Okay, is that the first time you held elective office?
Yes.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to a meeting that occurred at the city of Gordon on January 17th, 2014. Do you recall that date? I need you to answer audibly so the court reporter can. Yes or no?
Yes.
And let me go ahead and tell you, conversation, we often use when we shake our hands, yes and no, but But when she's trying to take this down on recording and then tries to type it up, are hard to spell and distinguish, and everybody disagrees about what we're saying, so let's use yes for and no for a lot of wrong. And this, we have this all the time, it's not just you, we've had it several times today,
Oh,
and I have it in every case, I have witnesses doing that, so don't feel like we're picking on you, that's just what happens all the time.
all right, thank you.
Okay, I want to ask you if you would to recount to the court what you recall about January 17th and the meeting down at the city of Gordon.
It really wasn't a meeting, but we was there at City Hall on January 17th. I left that evening early.
Okay, how did you come to be there on that day?
I can't remember right now, recall why I was down there, but I was down there. I think it could have been that we was meeting with someone that was, because one day some businesses did come there, they wanted to meet with us,
Okay, do you recall
because we
anything?
was new.
Okay, do you recall anything about meeting with the clerk about paying some invoices?
While I was there, the clerk had a stack of invoices, and she said one stack was about maybe that high, another stack about that high. And she said that she was behind on her work, and but she would stay over and stay over and work on them. And I asked her, was she sure that she could stay over, and she said she would.
Okay, do you recall, being in any kind of, setting where other council persons were there also talking about these invoices?
No, she just said that she had a lot of work to do, and she had a lot of those invoices that she showed them.
Okay. Were you in a meeting with Mr. Reeves and the mayor about these invoices?
No, we wasn't in a meeting.
Okay. Were you in a meeting with Ms. Coles about these invoices?
No,
Okay. When did you leave that
I left,
or leave there, well, you don't want to first say me. So when did you leave from City Hall?
I left early. I can't recall the exact time, but I did leave early.
Was, Mr. Smallwood there when you?
No, when I left, Ms. Toles was there. I think she was in the copy room. And, I left, and, she was in the copy room, and I left Mr. Reeves there and the mayor.
Okay. Was Mr. Edie there when you were there?
No,
He was not there. Was Mr. Densley there?
no,
So when you left, the only council persons there were Councilman Reese and Councilwoman Toles.
yes,
And the mayor was there.
and the mayor.
Okay.
Council Reese was sitting in the mayor's office with, Ms. Brown. And I told Ms. Brown that I was leaving because I wanted to go. My mother-in-law was sick. Since then she passed. And I told them that I was leaving.
Okay. So, at the time you left, then there was only Councilman Reese and Councilwoman Toles and the mayor there as elected
Yes.
officials. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, did you return at any other point during that particular day to City
No.
Hall?
no,
Okay. Did you leave before City Hall was closed that day, before 5 o'clock?
it was after 5.
It was after 5. Okay. Okay, have you ever participated in any city of Gordon meetings with Mayor Lou and at least 4 other council persons?
No,
Are you sure?
yes,
How can you be so sure?
I know I haven't. At any time.
Now, hold on, what was the question?
How can she be so sure she
No,
never
no, first,
have she ever participated in any meetings at the city of Gordon with Mayor Lou and 4 council persons? Well, I should qualify that by saying,
he asked you, have you ever participated in a meeting with the mayor and 4 council persons? And I
Not-
assume that every council.
Every
we all have.
council meeting, but not outside of council meeting.
But
that's
be a little more specific as to how we ask the question, because
that's correct, John. Let me clarify that for us. Have you ever participated in any meetings other than a call meeting at City Hall in a regularly scheduled city council meeting with the mayor and at least 4 other council persons?
No,
No, I think that's all I got. So, Ms. Whipple.
Good afternoon, Councilwoman, Long G.B.R. Don't think we're looking for. Do you recall what day of the week, January 17th, 2014 was?
yeah.
What day?
Do I recall that date?
Do you recall what day of the week it was?
I think it was on a Friday.
And I'm not sure if I ever heard what you said. Why were you at City Hall that day?
That's what I was telling him, I don't really recall.
Do you recall who all you talked to other than Tawana Brown about the invoices?
No, she was just saying that she was behind on her work. While I was there, she was saying that, and she showed me a stack of, mail and deals that she had to work on. She said she was behind on.
Do you recall on the winter or spring of 2014 going to Morris Bank with Councilman Reeves as the mayor and perhaps Bill Basket of unlocking a safety deposit box that belonged to the city?
No, I don't like him to say that.
Did you go on to the bank though?
Not be a basket, no.
Who did you go to the bank with?
As I recall, I think that I think the mayor went there once to talk with the people at the bank, but not with.
Did you accompany her?
I can't remember whether I was at the bank doing business or I could have been already at the bank.
And when you were elected as a councilwoman in 2013, you took office in 2014, what training did you receive?
Before,
Right.
For what?
Before you were sworn in?
I didn't take any training before.
And what training did you receive afterwards?
Afterward, I received open records, open meeting, and first time elect classes afterward. I request that I could attend a class on open records, open meeting.
And was that in January 2014?
No,
When was that?
it was after then. I think it was probably after February.
Did you receive training from the Attorney General's office as part of their investigation?
Yes,
And they were investigating Spoken Meetings Act violation allegations in January and February of 2014? You recall that?
in January, what do you think that was?
Yes, ma'am. Do you recall that the Attorney General's office was investigating alleged violations of the Open Meetings Act as early and through January and February of 2014?
No,
And do you recall writing a letter to Stephen Ritter as part of that
oh, okay,
response?
yes.
And your letter was dated February 26, 2014?
I don't remember the date, but I did write a letter.
In February of 2014?
Yes,
And did you receive some instruction from Mr. Ritter or somebody else from the Attorney General's office around that time of the Open Meetings Act?
I think he came down and he wanted to hear from some of what we had to say because it was the media and everything, and they were saying that we was violating open records, and I did respond to his request.
When the committees were expanded in the city of Gordon on February 3rd, 2014, which committee did you end up sitting on?
I was on the street, but after we didn't have enough members to, because all the members did not want to be on anything, on the committees. And so I had to take more than one.
And you ended up on streets and fire?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't have any further questions right now.
You direct?
define the scope of the cross-examination.
No further question.
Withdrawn.
No further question.
She's already been released, Mr. Bell,
Yes.
she's on the court subpoena.
She can be released.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
You are releasing your subpoena, you're free to go, or you may stay. I will not discuss your testimony with any other witness, and will not allow any other witness to discuss their testimony with you. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Call your next witness.
Ms. Barbara Toll.
Hi, she spelled her name is T-O-W-L-E-S.
That's correct.
More up here, Ms. Stokes. Let's come around that place there. Please raise your right hand. If you swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now and hearing, and the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat. And proceed, please tell us your name.
Barbara Ann Toles.
Please answer any question you were attorney at.
Yes, Ms. Toll, you're a city councilwoman in the city of Roy.
Yes.
How long have you been an elected official in the city of Roy?
This will be our third year,
Okay, when did you start?
2014, January 2014.
Okay. Was this your first election?
Yes.
Elected official?
Yes.
We previously heard some testimony about, a meeting that you had with, Chief Mike Hall of the police department on January 15th of 2014. Do you recall that meeting?
Yes.
Can you tell me how it came about and what was, discussed?
Well, I went down to introduce myself, to let them know who I was, and to let them know that I was from here with the police department. And I went down and I met some of the workers and stuff, and the first thing they asked me was, could I talk to the mayor about a shift change? And I told them that I would, talk to the mayor, let her talk to the chief, and they can go from there.
Okay. And did you follow up with that request?
I told the mayor, what they had said, and the mayor said that she would get with the chief, but, the chief got highly upset about it, and I didn't ever hear anything else, and I didn't say anything else about it.
So did you ever meet with Chief Hall about it?
Well, I talked to him that same day and told him what his employees wanted,
Okay, same day that you went to the police department?
same day.
And was that meeting as a result of a request by Chief Hall for you to come and be his employee?
No,
It was not?
because, when we got elected and the mayor appointed me to be over the police department, and I asked her, would it be okay to go down and meet with the employees, and she said yes, because I've been knowing Mike Hall for years. I didn't just know Mike Hall when I got elected, I've been knowing Mike Hall for years. And he was there, and he welcomed me in when I went down there.
Okay. And you took a tour, were you alone or did you go with
I was
someone?
alone, he gave me a tour of the police department,
Okay, and you were by yourself?
yes,
You weren't with the mayor?
no,
Okay, you weren't with any other city council people?
no.
Okay, and who was the employee or employees that made that request of you to talk to the mayor about a shift change?
I know Melissa's last name is Mason, but I don't know what Sean's last name is, and I don't know what Rhonda's last name is. But those are the three employees that approached me and asked me that.
Okay, what position did they have at the police department?
I think they're dispatchers.
Okay, so it was more than one employee,
Yes,
okay? And, did you go back to the mayor and ask her to consider that request?
yes, and she said that, see about it.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, I dropped it, but I mentioned it to the chief again, and the chief got highly upset. That's when I really dropped it, when I mentioned it to him again. And so I didn't say anything else about it, but then it came up, at another time, I can't recall the exact time, because I went back down and talked about the, direct deposit. And all of them wanted direct deposit, and then it came up in the meeting, on the city council meeting, and then all of them said that they didn't want it then. But the part about the time was never discussed again.
Part about the shift.
Yeah, the shift change.
Okay, and can you describe these employees, these three employees that you just identified that, requested the change, to shift, the shift change? Can you describe them by sex and race?
One is a, black girl, one is a white girl, and one is a white guy.
Okay. So these three employees were of different races and different sexes. Okay. Did you have more than one conversation with them about the shift change issue?
I discussed it with him twice after then, I didn't talk to him anymore.
Did you ever have a discussion with Chief Hall along with Mayor Luke?
Me and the mayor went down there one time together because she wanted to tour the police department also, and I went down there with her, and she was just talking about some things, and she was telling Chief Hall, you know, in his office, you know, his stands and cleaning and stuff like that, but that was all that was said then.
Do you recall the date that you and Mayor Luke went there together?
I don't know.
Okay, was it, was it in January or February, do you recall? Was there ever an issue with some of his employees sleeping on the job?
Yes,
Can you describe that?
that girl was named Rhonda, and there was, some pictures sent to me through the mail where she was on the job, laid back in a chair asleep. And I took him to Mike Hall, Chief Hall, and gave him to him and showed him. And the only thing he said to me was, I think I know where these came from. And that was all said about that.
Okay. So you don't know if he did anything about it in terms of discipline with the employees?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, have you ever witnessed the mayor, harassing any city employees?
No,
Have you ever witnessed the mayor harassing Ms. Tawana Brown?
no,
Have you ever witnessed her harassing Heather Hall?
no,
Have you ever been in the presence of her being discourteous or using derogatory language toward Chief Mike Hall?
no,
Have you ever known that she was to say to Ms. Brown that she was going to fire her?
no.
Let me ask you about a meeting on January 17th, 2014. Were you at the city hall on that day?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell me how it was that you came to be there on that day?
Okay, there was me, the mayor, Terry Reeves. We was down there, we was gonna go through some invoices. And Tawanda Brown was there, and she was complaining about how much work she had to do and stuff. So Terry Reeves told us, that, well, if you wanna stay, I'll help you with it, you know, and you can help us with invoices. So we was down there going through the invoices, and I got up to go in the copy machine to copy some invoices. And I heard this banging on the door very loud while I was in the copy room. So I goes out and I go to the front door, and it was Mr. Terry Edie. So I went to the door and I pointed, as I said, Mr. Edie, go to the side door. So he came to the side door, and when I opened the side door, he just bust in and said, why y'all got Tawanda down here this time of night? What's the purpose of her being down here this time of night? I said, Mr. Edie, ain't nobody doing nothing to Tawanda, she here voluntarily. And then that's when he went into the mayor's office. And I then here come Councilman Densley, said that he got a phone call to come down there. At that time, that made a quorum down there in City Hall. So I stayed out in the hall near the coffee room where I was. And I, heard them in there talking to him, shouting at the mayor and all of that. And I can't remember what happened to y'all that.
Okay, so were you in the mayor's office discussing the invoices before Mr. Edie arrived?
Yes, but I had gone out into the copy machine to make some copies of the invoice.
Okay, so when you were in the mayor's office discussing the invoices, what other council persons were in there with you?
Nobody but Councilman Terry Reeves.
Okay, and was the mayor there?
Yes,
And was Ms. Brown there?
yes,
And was Mr. Basil Wu there?
no,
He was not?
no, I don't know Mr. Basil will be in there.
Okay. Was Ms. Whipple there?
No,
Had she been there earlier?
yes, she had been down there earlier, but she had left.
Okay. So, after she left, then the only council persons that were there before Mr. Edie arrived were you, Councilman Reeves, and the mayor,
Right, and Ms. Brown.
and Ms. Brown. Okay. And then you said Mr. Smallwood came.
Yes, he said that he had a knock on his door to come down to the City Hall.
Okay. And did the police ever arrive?
Yes, the police came later.
And Mr. Denzel came.
Yes,
Now, was there ever 4 council people and the mayor in a meeting on that particular day?
no,
Okay. Now, have you ever known Mayor Lou to misuse city resources in any way?
no,
Have you ever known her to misuse credit cards?
no,
Have you ever misused credit cards?
no,
No, I think that's all I have is what.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Councilman Sullivan, Devil Cooper, I represent the plaintiffs. I'm a little unclear about your testimony with these meetings with Mike Hall. You testified that you went over to the police station once and met with him, right?
yes,
And you testified that once you and the mayor went over and met with him.
yes,
You recall meeting with him on January 15, 2014 in the mayor's office, right? Did you know that Police Chief Hall wears a body cam?
yes,
And we'll call him back for rebuttal, but if this video shows that as your hand and you're in the corner of the room on January 15, 2014, you wouldn't doubt that you and the mayor were in her office meeting with Chief Hall, would you?
I don't remember.
So it's not that you didn't do it, it's that you don't remember doing
That's
it.
right.
Do you remember in that meeting, Mayor Lou telling Chief Hall that it was your way and her way or the highway?
That's not true.
And if the video shows her saying that,
Well,
The-
I was
the
not-
video's
but if it
incorrect.
did, I didn't hear it.
and you don't have any background with training in police work, do you?
No, I don't.
You've never been a police officer?
No, I haven't.
You've never been responsible before for scheduling the shifts of the police office?
No, I haven't.
Or the police department rather. And you testified that there's this issue with this, police officer sleeping on the job. I couldn't tell if you said her name was Rhonda or DeRhonda or
Rhonda.
Rhonda. And what you testified to was that you were unsure if she was disciplined by Chief Hall, right?
That's right,
So you don't know if he did it or he didn't.
that's right.
You have no idea. And when you testify that you've never seen the mayor harass employees, and you don't recall this January 15, 2014 meeting, is it possible you just don't remember?
I would have known that she arrested the police chief. I did not hear that, and I've never been in the presence of her harassing me.
Well, now, I've never been in the presence when we play this with Chief Hall. If that turns out to be you in the corner, he's already testified you were there.
If I was there, I don't remember her harassing him.
So it's possible she's harassed employees and you just don't remember.
I don't know.
No further questions.
You didn't see that picture, that looked like your hand in that picture, or
I
you
didn't get a good look at her. I don't have my glasses.
how come the way to tell without your glasses on?
Because in my purse, and they told me to put food in the fridge, and I didn't take them out.
Okay. That's why I wear mine on my face, because I've always had a big.
That's good.
All right, thank you, ma'am, you missed that. Is she released from her subpoena?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
And you are released from your subpoena, you're free to go, you may stay.
Thank you.
But do not discuss your testimony with any other witness, or do not allow any other witness to discuss their testimony with you. Thank you.
I have a potential witness that I need to speak to very briefly.
Sure, we'll wait for you, go out ahead.
Went out, she wasn't no witness was out there, she came out. I would like to call.
I understand, Mr. Cooper, you want to speak with the witness, before that, or you have any objection, or was this?
If I could just maybe speak with Mr. Kendall for a second.
Sure.
Potentially the witness.
Yeah. Y'all speak and then talk to the witness if you need to.
We don't have any objection, Your Honor.
To re-hand it.
Other than I will note for the record, Your Honor, we don't have an objection based on the fact that Ms. Henry was in here during some of the testimony, but I don't think she's listed in the pretrial warrant. And I've never heard of who she is before, so.
Would you like to speak with her, or?
Yeah, let me speak
I
with
think
her.
the procedure there is for you to have an opportunity to speak with the witness, and then,
Yes.
see if there's anything that you would need, further preparation, before cross-examining her, or, any additional time, after the testimony to require other evidence if you needed it for the public.
Absolutely. If I could just have a minute.
Absolutely. So, apparently you agree she was not on the witness.
I agree, yeah.
Okay, well, you got a chance to talk to her then, and we'll see where we are.
Gloria. Amen.
Okay, Ms. Henry, how are you currently employed?
I am a consultant. I have two major clients. One of them is the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. The other is the Georgia Caucus of Black Men.
Okay, and where are you based out of?
I'm based out of Laconia.
Laconia, Georgia?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know, my client, Mayor Whipple?
I do.
And can you tell us how you know her?
I know Mayor Whipple. We met approximately 2 years ago when she became the mayor of Florida.
Okay, and on what occasion did you have to meet her and to get to become acquainted with her?
We being the Georgia Caucus of Black Mayors, and under the GCBM, that's the acronym we use for that organization. GCBM represents approximately 70 black mayors throughout the state of Georgia. About 80 to 85% of those are in rural communities. And typically, after the elections, when the leadership changes, we reach out to those black mayors who have been elected into office and give them information on the organization, invite them to the two events that we host a year. One is a spring conference in May, typically, and the other is a fall business conference in October.
Okay, and did you have occasion to do that, with Mayor Lewis?
Yes, sir.
And was that back in 2014?
Yes, when she took office.
Okay. Now, did you also have occasion to, interact with the clerk, the city clerk of the city of Gordon, Georgia?
Yes, at Mayor Lou's request. Yes.
Okay, tell us how you came to interact with the city clerk.
Once I reach out to the incoming mayor, they will typically advise on how they want to receive their information. And so Mayor Lou, in this particular case, asked that any correspondence for her coming from GCBM be sent to her city clerk, Ms. Brown.
Okay, and, did you do that?
Thank you.
And tell us how you did that and when.
Like I said, we have two events a year. Sometimes we just started having a joint meeting with the Black Caucus. That's in January, so 3 events we have a year. Prior to those events taking place, I reach out to the designated place that the mayor asked for me to reach out to, which at this time was Ms. Brown.
Okay. And, what was the method of your communication?
Oh, I'm
with
sorry,
Ms.
you did
Brown?
ask me that, I'm sorry. Y'all forgive me. My mother passed away about a year, so I'm in a different space.
Okay.
The method of communicating with her was email.
Email.
Yes, sir.
And you sent her an email, Ms. Brown?
Absolutely, yes.
And did you get a response back?
My hesitation is because I have 75 different mayors, I have to think how the communicate is. With her, typically, I will copy them both. So I'll send the email to Ms. Brown and copy Mayor Whipple at Mayor Whipple's request.
Okay.
And typically, I've had about 5 occasions to speak to Ms. Brown. Mayor Whipple, when she gets an email from me, will respond, "Thank you. Please make sure you coordinate this with Ms. Brown.
Okay, now tell me about your experiences with Ms. Brown. Has it been good, bad, or indifferent?
All of the above. The first experience I had with her was pleasant. And like I said, I had about 5 instances where I needed to actually talk to her. The second time was kind of indifferent, and the third and subsequent experiences were not so good.
Okay, tell me about the third and subsequent experiences.
The third instance,
Your Honor, we would object just on the basis of relevance. This is not tied to this lawsuit in any way. Ms. Brown's performance is not subject to insubordination right up in this case or any other disciplinary action brought in there, and it's not subject to this suit, so we would object on the basis of relevance.
Well, one of the allegations in here is that the mayor has unduly harassed Mrs. Brown.
How would the relationship with Ms. Brown bear on the mayor's alleged harassment of Mrs. Brown?
I think her testimony is gonna basically indicate that it's Mrs. Brown who is the one that's harassing the mayor, and not the other way around.
She's seen Ms. Brown harass the mayor
She's heard her harassing the mayor
directly.
directly on the phone.
If that's the evidence, I'll hear it.
so the third, can you repeat the question?
Yes. I was asking about the third and subsequent incidences that you know about where you say your experiences with Ms. Brown have not been so pleasant.
The third instance, Ms. Brown was, to put it lightly, was very, she was indifferent and difficult. And what I mean by that is, the process that I go through is the same. I send you over the registration form of logistical information, whatever that the case may be, because I'm the one who makes all of those arrangements at our different events. And try to make sure that the registration process is as easy as possible for our members.
Okay, well, just tell us what happened.
Well, she was not real nice to me. That was the third time, and the fourth time the same, but the fifth time, I was taken aback because she actually started screaming and hollering at me, and she hung up the phone in my face while I was having a conversation. The mayor was at city, this particular, can I just explain how it happened? This last event, and it was in October of 2015, and Lithonia was the venue that we selected, and our group goes from different cities throughout the state, where one of our members is the mayor in that particular town. So we were in Lithonia in October of 2015, and the contract and the arrangements that I made with the hotel where we were holding our event was that each mayor could bring a check with them, made out for a specific amount. A lot of times in the smaller cities, they don't have the use of a purchase card or a credit card or whatever, but they are able to have checks. And so the hotel was agreeable to a specific amount, whatever that was. And all the city clerks had to do was make the check payable to the Holiday Inn for $125.37, whatever the amount is. So Ms. Brown called me and said, I give very detailed emails with instructions. And she called me and said she called the hotel and nobody knew what I was talking about. And she couldn't do this and she couldn't do that. So I let her vent. And I said, well, Ms. Brown, who did you speak to? Because my contact person is XYZ, and I signed the contract, so I know you can do it. That's the arrangement that I made. I said, so you can call back. Here's her direct dial number. I said, let me call you back. I called the hotel, talked to my contact person. She says, oh, no. That's not the agreement we had. I said, I know. Can I have her call you back directly? She said, yes. I called Ms. Brown back, gave her the direct dial number. Ms. Brown called again, but she did not call the number I gave her. She called the general 800 number or something. She refused to call the lady that I asked her to call. And the woman said, I haven't heard from her.
How do you know what you called? say that you heard from somebody else.
Well, listen, so,
I'm happy.
okay, because I
I
called,
get to ask before I listen.
I called my contact back. She said, I haven't heard from Ms. Brown. I called Ms. Brown back. I said, so-and-so said she hasn't heard from you. Who are you calling? Well, I called the number you gave me in the email. I said, but this is the number I want you to call. I gave her the number again. She said, okay, I'll call. We went through this for like 3 days. On the last day, at this point, Mayor Whipple is a little frustrated. And so I said, when you get to City Hall, can you ask Ms. Brown to let all three of us have a conversation so we're having the same conversation? Ms. Brown refused to talk. All three of us. And the mayor says, well, I'm just gonna call you on my cell phone and go into her office, which the mayor did. And Ms. Brown was screaming and hollering at her like she was her child. I said, is that your city clerk talking to you like that? She said, yes. I said, oh my, that's not good. Can I speak to her, please? She did finally get on the phone because she knew it was me on the phone. And I said, Ms. Brown, I thought I gave you a number 3 times for you to call so-and-so and so-and-so. And she started screaming at me. She's being Ms. Brown. And politely told me, in not so nice terms, that she called. I didn't know what I was talking about. Mary didn't know what she was talking about. And she wasn't sending anything to anybody. She wasn't going to deal with this anymore. Click, and she hung up the phone in my face. And I thought, So I didn't call back because I didn't call back. So the mayor called me back the next day. I said, Mayor, don't worry about it. You just come. We will bill you on the back end.
Thank you, that's all I have.
You don't have any questions, you know?
Well, if she released, I guess she's not subpoena, is she?
She's not, and she can remain in the courtroom if she
Well,
likes.
here she go, that's up to you.
And I'm gonna call my next witness, which is gonna be Mayor Lou.
You already been sworn earlier, in this case yesterday, you were still under oath, okay?
Yes, sir.
You're not sworn, you're affirmed,
Yes, sir.
you're still under that affirmation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mayor Lou, I would like for you to, well, first of all, I wanna ask, have you ever been admitted to Central State Hospital?
No, sir.
Never?
Never.
Did you ever work at Central State Hospital?
Was employed with Central State Hospital. Yes, I was.
For how long?
I believe, maybe about 20+ years.
Okay.
And can I elaborate
Yes,
as to
please.
what my
Well,
position?
just give me your historical work background.
I've had a very, as far as work background, history, I was employed with the, here in the county, started out here in the county, in the tax commissioner's office. From there to the state, Department of Juvenile Justice. I was the first black, working the tax office years ago. The first black to be employed at the, Bill Ireland Youth Development Center in Milledgeville, Georgia. Promoted from there to Central State Hospital to work in volunteer services. From volunteer services to affirmative action at Central State Hospital. And I've had a very good background, work ethics. I've got the highest of performance ratings. Everywhere I've gone, they resent the fact that I left. But moving forward, from there, I retired from the Oconee Adult Mental Health Center. My work history, I do a variety of work, transcriber, for the doctors, office administration, just basically, but I retired from the state of Georgia. And alcohol and drugs, I worked there, substance abuse, children and adolescents, and I have worked a few for certain attorneys typing various legal works.
What is your education background? Start with high school.
Graduated here in Wilkinson County. I moved on from Wilkinson County. I attended business college of administrative and law there in Atlanta, Georgia. From there, I attended Georgia College, from Georgia College to GMC, from there to the Theological Seminary. And
Did you get a college degree?
I did in business from the Atlanta Business College.
Is that a 2-year degree or 4-year degree?
I received my associate degree.
What about your electoral history background? Where have you been elected or appointed? You're elected or appointed position?
Yes, I started out with, this is my first elected position was on the school board here in Wilkinson County. The first female and black. From that point on, I served on the planning and zoning board there in Gordon. Was there, well, I believe, can't recall the years, up until that I continued on the planning and zoning. And I ran for state representative for District 144, House District. And from there to now being elected as the first female and black mayor for the city of Gordon, Georgia.
So how many terms did you serve on the school board?
2 terms for 8 years.
Okay, and both of those positions were, both of those terms you were elected, is that correct?
That is correct.
You didn't get that by appointment?
Oh, no. The voters voted me in.
Okay. Now, when you ran for the mayorship of the city of Gordon, who did you run against?
The incumbent, Mayor Kenneth Turner.
And how long had Mayor Turner been in office at the time you ran against him?
I believe 12 years.
Okay, was he your opponent in the race?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so he had been a 12-year incumbent and you won the election as a first-time candidate for the mayor of Gordon, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and you took office on January the 6th, 2014, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay,
And if I could elaborate about that,
sure.
because I sat on the planning and zoning board, I had established a rapport with the deputy clerk, who is Ms. Heather Halver, and for maybe 8 or 9 years, we had a very good rapport, that we worked very well together, and I've known the clerk for the city. Thought we got along very well up until I became mayor, and as a matter of fact, I thought we had such a very good rapport that I asked the clerk if she would, because I had my swearing-in ceremony the day of, rather than that night. I asked her to be the one to host it, and she said, "Oh, Mayor, I've never done anything like that before." I said, "But you know, this is a new administration, and I think we'll work very well. After all, we're women, and we could work very well together." I said, "I'm just going to be nervous." I said, "Just chill. You know all the folk in the community, so just relax and come on and spearhead this for me." And she did.
That was your swearing-in ceremony, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you asked her to be the person to swear you in and handle
Well,
the
by
ceremony?
the charter, she is the one, but I asked her to be the mistress of the ceremonial person. But the judge, Judge Vivian Cummings, actually swore me in that day.
Okay. Now, at the time you were sworn in, you were he unfortunately passed away, last year in October, is that correct?
Yes, he did.
What,
Could I just elaborate?
yeah, tell us a little bit about your relationship with him, because he's been a central figure in some of the testimony here.
Yes, he's been a central figure, as a matter of fact, very instrumental, and he knows a lot about plumbing. With me being a mayor, because he was an engineer, construction engineer, he knew a lot about the grants and such, because he was formerly employed with Mr. H.J. Russell there in Atlanta, and he come down and put up buildings here. And he was just very, very knowledgeable about a lot. And because he was very instrumental in helping me to be able to determine a lot of things that I could not understand, as far as when it was dealing with, the sewer system that was being put in, and what was written up in the grants. I had no idea, because in that grant it stated that they would be replacing new sewer lines, but instead of replacing the new sewer lines, they put in little, what they said, plastic, some kind of, within that tubing or whatever. And I had no clue, and he was basically meeting with the engineering people, Ingram and Associates, and they knew that I didn't know. And so they welcomed him in, and everybody pretty much received him, except my staff.
Okay, now let me ask you this. He was, quote unquote, dubbed the chief of staff. How did that come about?
Well, the mayor had sent a letter before my being sworn into office, along with that, to say that after I'd been elected as the mayor, well, I didn't know how to run the city, so I called around to various elected officials, particularly next door to Bibb County and Baldwin County. And Dr. Ficklin, whom I'd known for quite some years, would give me a lot of helpful information. And I spoke with, at that time, Councilwoman Elaine Lucas, and she said, well, just to give you a bit of information, don't go until you are sworn in to do anything. So she said, but you can send Mr. Lou, who is your husband, because he's considered a constituent. So anything that you need, you can direct him to ask them. And so she had asked me, had I received a copy of the charter? Or what? And I said no. So she said, well, send him down to inquire about a charter. And so upon that, I guess because he had a language, they couldn't, I don't know if they understood him or not, but they acted as if they didn't understand him. And I guess because if they did not understand him, then they felt insulted, or somewhat intimidated. And he said, I went to ask for the charter, and they said, charter? And so I eventually.
You say he had a language issue, and why is that?
He's not from America. Not
Where is
from-
he from?
Jamaica. I live in England.
Okay. So I asked you about his getting, quote unquote, the nickname of chief of staff.
Oh, that came from the mayor himself. It's in the letter that we received from the mayor saying, your chief of staff, you might want to talk to him because he's coming in questioning, asking questions from the employees. And so you might want to, talk to him about that.
When you said the mayor, who are you talking about?
Mayor Kenneth Turner, the
He's a
previous
former,
mayor. Former mayor, yes. And
So you sent your husband down to get a copy of the charter, and the mayor, former mayor, the one you defeated, Mayor Turner, sent you a letter and said you may want to ask your chief of staff.
right, because he was questioning the employees and they felt somewhat intimidated or insulted by him.
Okay. So was this not, a name that you gave him?
Oh, no,
He was not your chief of staff?
he was never my chief of staff, but we jokingly, after we got the letter, everybody called him chief, and so we just went from there, because Mayor Turner gave me that name,
All right.
Mayor Kenneth Turner.
Now, at the initiation of your administration, there was an issue that you brought up regarding, shredding of documents. Tell us about it.
Well, before we, was sworn into office, night and day since, the day of the election, we saw, the city of Gordon saw all kind of folk going in and out of City Hall night and day. It was almost, 24/7, all day long, and, so the next thing I was, brought to my attention, you might want to, once you're in office, say to them about not shredding of documents. And so, immediately, there was a letter addressed to Attorney Boone for them not to shred any more documents. But I think his letter stated that in January, there had not been any documents shredded since January 27th. I'm sorry, January 17th or whatever. Can't recall the date right now. But we do know that there were documents shredded. And I'd asked them not to shred documents. And I have pictures of them still shredding documents after that day. And this was before the EEOC complaints.
Okay, did you ever, state to anyone that you were gonna fire Chief Hall?
Since being mayor, I've never said that I would fire anyone. I had a conversation with the deputy clerk, and I said, well, where on earth did you ever get that idea? Have I ever told you that? She said, no. I said, where'd you get that idea? We had a conversation in the office one day. She said, Mayor Kenneth Turner told me that you said that you were gonna fire all of the white employees and hire all black. I said, well, where are they? And I said, since this time, you've not been fired. I've never intimidated or threatened to fire any of the employees. I said, if you do your job, look, we won't worry about this. I'm a part-time mayor. I'm not here every day. You all know the ins and outs and what's going on. So that was never my topic.
Let me ask you about this, January 17th meeting that we talked about. How did that meet, or I call it a meeting, but how did that encounter with, Ms. Brown occur with regards to the January 17th?
May I clear that up, please, as you said? There was never a meeting. What had happened, and the council members know that, Councilman Reeves' health was not good. And that day, he had an appointment, and he had made us call to the clerk, stating that she and him and myself would get together and go over the invoices, because he said in the 19 years or so that he had been on council, he had never signed a check. And this is on video and in the minutes. And I said, well, with this new administration, we will now never allow this to happen. We all are going to be transparent. And so with that being said, that evening, I think it was somewhat after maybe 4:30 when he arrived, and he said, Mr. Warner, he said, I know you've got to go home, but, and I know I had told you I would be here earlier, but if you don't mind, can you stay a little, would you be willing to stay a little late? She said, well, that won't be a problem. And so he said, you sure? Because I believe that following week coming up was going to be Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And she said, I don't mind it. We need to get this taken care of. So we were there going over the invoices, and while we were there, Councilwoman Toles, as she would always do, come in, and she was in the copying room making copies of all of the invoices so that the original could be there, and we could go over the set that she said, I believe somewhere between 6 o'clock, she said, well, I need to call my, daughter, Miss Brown did, and let her know that I'm going to be working over. And I said, well, go ahead and do what it is that you feel necessary to do. During that time, it was in the evening, and the night was drawing nigh. And so Councilman Reeves asked her, Miss Tawana, are you sure you can, stay here? She said, no problem. And so as it got darker, well, while we were there in the office, all of a sudden, there comes a banging on the door at City Hall, as if we didn't know, we thought maybe a burglar was trying to come in. We didn't know what was going on. Councilwoman Whipple, Councilwoman Toes came from out of the copier room, going down to the front door, because after 5, we lock the doors at City Hall. Business, we never stay after hours. At 5 o'clock every day, those doors are locked. So she went, she said, well, she said, we could hear, because in the hallway, you have to go through the door to get down to the copier room. The door is locked. And my office sits away from, at the City Hall. When you come into the very first, like before, I guess the room or whatever, we have the chamber and then the mayor's office. So the door to the hallway is locked, closed. So she came through those doors and went to that door because the bang was so loud. She said, what's going on? And so she said, that's Councilman Smallwood, we could hear her. So she left there and went back down the hallway, all the way down the hall, through the door, and he came in, and he was stampeded in.
Who came?
Councilman Terry Edie. And when he walked in, and I give you the demonstration. He walked in as if he was a madman, ready to shoot. We didn't know whether he was gonna kill us or not. He walked in and said, Mary, why is Miss Tawana Brown sitting here? Why is she here after hours? I said, excuse me? I want to know, why is Miss Tawana Brown standing over me? This is the desk. He's standing over me. I mean, just totally out of ballistic. And said to me, I want to know, why is she here after hours? I said, well, first of all, Councilman Edie, calm down. I said, and first of all, good evening. And secondly, if you're going to address me, do not stand over me. Remove yourself to the right of me and address me as Mayor Whipple and not Mary Ann. I shall never forget that. And then after he thought about what he had done, he said, you know what? I apologize. After I said, now we can talk. I said, but first of all, we're here trying to get these invoices paid, because Councilman Reeves has never signed any checks or gone over the invoices, and I do want to be transparent. And can you work with me on that? Well, I didn't know. She just told me that she was here working. You all were holding her in here against her will. I was taken aback. And so from that moment on, Councilman Reeves said, Mr. Warner, we're not holding you here. And so from that moment, while he was there, then up comes Mr. Densley. He said somebody, I think he got a call or whatever. You know, it's just, I can remember that. He showed up a little after Councilman Edie, and then next time, here comes Councilman Smallwood. Councilman Smallwood, well, I didn't know what was going on. I just got a knock on my door. I mean, somebody telling me I need to get over to City Hall. But come to find out, Councilman Edie said it was Deputy Halver that did the calling and told him that he needed to get to City Hall, that Tawana was there in a hostile environment. So, moving further along, but before I got a little ahead of myself, please forgive me. But Councilman Terry Edie, the night that we I agreed about the audit, I said, Councilman Edie, is anything wrong with you and I said, I thought have a very good, I've known you all my days. As a matter of fact, I'm a recording artist, Your Honor. And, I sold him a CD, and, he accepted it and, told me that, he, sure he's gonna enjoy it. I said, I know you will, as soon as you sold. And so, but, his sister and I were very dear friends, we're still very good friends, high school. And I just can't believe that since I became mayor, I said, Councilman, I said, everybody agreed to the audit, except you. Why won't you want an audit done? I said, I come in new, I've never had a transitioning, period. I would have hoped that you would have come and taken me by the hand, since you're a veteran and as a, council member, and show me the ins and out. And he said, well, I just think that since that audit was over, we don't need another one. I said, it's not against anybody. I said, but this is a new administration, and I want everything to show that I'm clear and there's nothing, and we, and then if I have done anything, we can have a clean slate and move forward. And then he said, first thing you need to do is get rid of, Spence Basin.
That's what he said.
This is what Councilman Terry Eady said. He said, he's just too expensive, he costs the city a lot of money. I said, well, Spence Basin, he's our, engineer. The mayor, previous mayor brought him on, and we don't need him. I said, oh my goodness, I don't know him, but I'd like to get to know him. And so, the same meeting that, after that night, well, Councilman Smallwood comes along, said, well, Mayor, I know you, and I know you're a good woman, we can work real good together, and I feel real good about you being elected. He said, but first of all, 2 people we need to get rid of. I said, who are they? He said, the city clerk and the chief of police. I said, oh my God, is it that bad? He said, it's that bad. And so, moving right along with all of this firing, the words never came out of my mouth. All the firings come from these people, the council people who have said that I need to let these people go.
Okay, now let me ask you this. About the, keys to the, file cabinet that Ms. Brown had. Tell me about your conversation, you heard her testimony, you're sitting right here. What did she tell you, what did you ask her, and give me that exchange, please. You and her with regards to the keys to the file cabinet.
Because I'm newly elected and was a few days in office, I went to the clerk, I said, well, would you mind showing me how everything operates? Well, first of all, you don't have any business being in my office. I said, excuse me? And I said, well, in the event when you're not here, Miss Clerk Brown, I always address them as Miss Brown or Miss Hall. I said, I need to have access to get in and out of the buildings, my office. In the event you're not here, your office, and all of the keys. I said, every administration I work in, I've always had keys to everybody's office, every place of business. I've always been given keys. She said, no, you can't have keys. I said, clerk, are you forgetting I'm the mayor? I don't care who you are. You're not getting these keys. And Councilwoman Toles was in the copy room. This is in the clerk's office. And I said, Clerk Brown, I need the keys to the building to get in. It's not about me trying to find if you're doing everything right. I don't want to worry about me. So I said, I need the keys to the office. She said, well, if you want the keys, here the keys are, and just drop them in my hand. I never forced her. I never touched her. And then she left out of her office, went storming down, went to Councilman Reeves, and went boo-hooing as they said she'd always do. Councilman Smallwood said she did it all the time. And previous councilman.
Your Honor, I have to object to any characterizations from Councilman Smallwood.
Well,
It would be hearsay, wouldn't it?
It would, please.
Sustain the objection.
well, she stormed down to my office where Mr. Reeves was, and he said,
And Your Honor, I have to object to what Mr. Reeves said. He's passed away and not testifying.
Also be hearsay, wouldn't it?
well, but then I got the keys, but he calmed her down. And that's how I got the keys.
Okay, now, these, files that, were found on your desk, what do you know about them?
I don't know anything except what she said, the files were on my desk. I have no clue as to why I would need the files.
Did you put them
say
Sure,
that.
sure.
Based on her attitude and her demeanor, I don't know if she may have taken the files out and set me up to place the files on my desk. She's that kind of, that demeanor.
Okay. I can't remember if this count is still there or not, but I'm gonna ask you about it anyway. All things is. Have you ever shared any confidential city information with your husband?
No, sir.
Let's talk about the audit. Tell me what your involvement was with the audit, how you came to, know Mr. William Basquiat, who was he, and why did, you ask him to get involved with the city board?
Well, based on the fact that, they had filed all the EEOC complaints against me and said that I was white. I got information about, a white to show them, to perhaps, make them feel comfortable and saying, well, if there's anything to be done, I had to, pretty much go and get everybody white to do it. I've not had it black. So, I did research and, with the auditor because I knew we needed one, and, previously, there were a few constituents who had told me about what was going on in the city. One of them was our, Better Hometown Director, and Miss Carol, the lady that worked, I can't think of her name, she worked with the, water department that the mayor fired previously, who was white. And she had met with me, they met with me down at the porch in Gordon, and was telling me about certain things going on in the city. And, a lot of white folks had said that, there was money
Object,
missing.
Your Honor, that's hearsay and improper.
Yeah, please, don't tell us about what somebody said.
Okay. Okay. Moving
Unless
further.
it's one of the plaintiffs.
Yes, sir. And so moving right along, the auditor came about because we were, needing, an audit done. And that's how Mr. Bill Basket, I did know him from Adam's Apple.
Okay. The previous auditor had been a firm by the name of Wright and Wright, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what their findings were with regards to the abilities of the clerk to handle city business?
Basically, they said that she was, it's not what I said,
Object, Your Honor.
what they
I
wrote.
object, Your Honor. The audit is not in evidence, it's not been tendered, and no one from Wright is listed on a witness list, so this witness talking about their findings, I think is hearsay.
No, I don't think it's hearsay. I asked her, what were the findings of the audit with regards to the clerk's involvement with handling city business? Her knowledge of the findings doesn't have anything to do with a witness. It's based upon her own knowledge of having read the audit. And she can tell us what the findings of the audit were because she has personal knowledge of what the findings were.
Would the audit itself be the highest and best evidence, would it be excluded under that rule?
No.
She can't tell us what the conclusions of an audit were, and the people who did the audit are not here for cross-examination.
Well, you know, the highest and best evidence rule, I don't think goes to exclude a witness from testifying about what their knowledge of a particular document is. The highest and best evidence
Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American, and if you run for office, and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
I've been dragged across the desert in my bare feet.
The Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American, and if you run for office, and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished. Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American, and if you run for office, and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
I've been dragged across the desert in my bare feet, with no food or water, with nowhere to sleep. Been ridiculed and abused, wrongfully accused. What more can they do to me? What more can they do to me?
The Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American, and if you run for office, and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
Free Press, and I'm in Meigs, Georgia. I just left Atlanta. I came through West Point, Georgia, then from there to Americas. I stopped by Smithville and talked to the mayor in that little small town. And now I'm here in Meigs. We were expecting a meeting tonight. I hear some citizens gathering here, and they say that there will not be a meeting. I don't know how that can be. They say there was a sign posted, even of the agenda. But now the signs are taken down. And the only way I can find out what's going on is to talk to somebody here in town. I told y'all there's something wrong in the state of Georgia, and we need the governor of the state of Georgia, Georgia Attorney General, the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp. Somebody must address these problems in these little small towns. But look. You don't have to listen to me. Let's listen to others. And once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm in the little small town of Meigs. We just looked on the door. I was told there would be a meeting tonight. I came from Atlanta by way of West Point, Americas, Georgia, stopped in Smithville to talk to the mayor there, and now I'm here in Meigs. I was expecting a meeting tonight. And I can tell you what the speculation may be from what I've heard on the street, but this is Mayor Linda Harris. We're going to let her tell you, as Paul Hard would say, the rest of the story.
Well, we had posted on the community center door that there was going to be a special call council meeting tonight. I spoke to Mayor Pro Tem LaVon Gassett, and several of the council members, and they informed me that they could be here at 6:30 tonight. But I got a call from Mayor LaVon Gassett, and he stated that the council members, they said it wasn't enough council members who were informed about the meeting to be here, so he was canceling it. I tried to call him back and let him know that I had spoken to enough council members to have the meeting for tonight. He hung the phone up on me. I tried to call back thinking it was a bad reception. He didn't answer the phone, and I left a message, and he still hasn't gotten back with me. But these are the concerned citizens that's here, that participates in the council meetings, and they're here to have a council meeting that has been canceled. So I don't know what we're going to do to get some compliance. I don't know what state level we're going to have to go to get some help here in the city of Meigs. I've called everybody from the senator to the commissioners all the way up to the governor's office, and I can't get any help. They said it's an intergovernmental mess here, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of the problem, trying to resolve the problem, so far as to get my own attorney like they told me that I had to get, being that our city attorney won't support me with these matters.
Madam Mayor, why do you feel, what's your comments about having to take money out of your own pocket to defend yourself on behalf of the citizens when I'm told you don't even get paid for the position?
Right, it's not a paid position. I came in knowing that I would be volunteering for the position. I put in a lot of voluntary time over the years anyway, so that part didn't really matter to me. I didn't know that I was going to have to fight this kind of fight. But yeah, it disturbs me that I have to go and get my paid money. Well, I've had help from the concerned citizens. That's why they want this issue resolved bad enough to help raise money for the legal fund to get this resolved, because they want to see our city go forth. And they elected me as the mayor, and they want to see me get over there very badly.
Okay, are you aware that in Gordon, Georgia, Mayor Ann Whipple was removed from office for 60 days by order of a Superior Court Judge, Robert S. Can't think of his last name right now, but Reeves. He was removed, therefore circumventing the rights of the voters to have the person that they want to represent them. So as we look at what's happened to her, I understand that after 3 weeks of taking office over there in Gordon, Georgia, that she asked for an audit. And it seems like it's always the money that's creating the problems in these small cities. Now looking back with your situation, I have people on my YouTube. Here's the question they asked me about Meigs. They say, you are covering Gordon, but what is the update on Meigs? So would you give us a recap of what you have been through, short form, in terms of what you've been through? Have you been arrested? Have you received any trespass warning? Can you explain that to the people who want to know it? And there's no news media here to report it, so I got to report it.
Yes, I've been arrested, and in fact, this is my second time. I was arrested in April. In fact, it was April 19th. There was a warrant taken out on me on April 16th that I wasn't even aware of. There was a warrant taken out on me for my arrest for the previous administration. I've gone through turmoil. I've gone through my reputation being tarnished. The people that don't know me don't know what to believe. Only thing they believe is what they see on television, which is like slander. And I've been harassed by the city administration, and it's really just gone too far. My civil rights have been violated very badly. All of my rights have been violated. Not only the state charter, which I ran on. I ran the campaign on the fact that I would be governed by our state charter, which our state charter has been violated, and I don't understand why the state representatives won't come in and help us and show the council that they are really violating the state charter.
What about your health condition? Did it just put additional stress on you? The reason I'm asking that is because I've been doing this, and the equipment 10+2, one of those girls, the equipment 10+2, is dead now. She had lupus, and the father, I talked to him, and he believed that the stress that was put on her resulted in her death, that association with lupus. So have you been under any stress lately?
I have been under stress. I've been to the doctor, to the hospital about 3 different times. I've developed a stomach problem. Had to go to the hospital for that as well. And it seems like I've aged as well since I've been going through this. But it has put a little stress on me, not only me, but it's put stress on my family as well.
Okay, can we get one of the city council members here to come and address the camera? You have any members from the city council? Did any of them show up?
No, nobody from the council showed up.
Okay, well, the former police chief, what's his name? Maybe he could come up. What's your name? Come up just a minute. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Jimmy Layton.
Jimmy Layton, would you come up just a minute? Once again, I've noticed Mr. Jimmy Layton, he's spoken out not for any particular group. He's only been speaking up that I've heard is on behalf of our form of government. And what's your former position here in the city and your expertise?
Basically, I'm a concerned citizen. I did like a lot of people voted for this Linder here, the mayor. And they just basically took it away from them. I don't understand how they could take our votes and just do away with them. I don't understand how they can keep people from coming in here and speaking. You know, the civil rights has been violated. The amendments, everything you can think of, the charter. They had no council meeting at all in May. They violated the charter. They violated the Open Records Act. They have not replied to any one of us on the Open Records Act.
Wow.
And not only has it been harassment for Linda, looks like, but they've been calling my job where I work part-time. They called my job again last week, a week before last, and they called Post, which is Peace Officer Standing Training, said I was in the city maze with my Pelham uniform on. Well, Post told them I could walk the city streets in maze or any other town with my uniform on. It didn't matter what kind of uniform I had on. Well, then they called the office and complained on me. And they told them at the office that I was on my own time. As long as I didn't break the law, that they couldn't do nothing, wasn't gonna do nothing. Well then, that wasn't good enough. They called again, I think it was about a couple of weeks ago on a Friday, they called and complained to somebody in Camilla, I think, and then it went to the city manager, and the city manager to the, you know, trying to get me saying I was on newscast with my police uniform on, that I was holding meetings with my police uniform on. And God knows, y'all know I ain't been up with my uniform on no meetings. Now, I've had my veterans cap on, and I've had my disability for veterans jacket on. I don't know, they must not maybe they can't tell the difference or something. Maybe they can't read. I don't know what the problem is. But it's got to cease. We got to put this thing out. We got to get rid of this. We can't continue like this. The mayor does not know anything about what's going on. She does not know anything about financial situation. She has not been kept up to date, like the water was off today. She knew nothing about it. I called trying to find out. We don't have qualified people up here, and we sure can't afford for Albany, the police chief we can't afford him driving the car to Albany and back. We can't afford that kind of stuff. And we can't afford these other cars going to Cooley.
Okay.
We can't do it.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Now, you mentioned something about some water being off. What do you mean water being off? I don't quite understand that.
They supposedly had a broke line, so the whole town was off, no water.
Okay.
So I was trying to find out what was going on, because I've been home today, didn't have to work. I was supposed to work, but I didn't. My wife was sick, so I've been home trying to take care of housework.
Okay. And what's your name once again?
Jimmy Layton.
Okay, my last question to you, if you don't mind, unless you got other comments, is that you have said it before, and we have recorded you. Why do you think, again, that somebody out of Atlanta don't come in here or somebody and do something about what's going on here? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I tell you, I can't. I'm really confused about it. I can't really believe it. It seems like that they're either. At first, I thought it was because of some elections coming up, you know, and so they were tied up maybe in this one and that one. But, you know, with all what's going on, you'd think there would have been an investigation called by someone in Atlanta. We've asked, I think, I believe one of our people has sent a letter to Atlanta asking for some help, some investigation. And I don't know if she's heard anything yet or not. So
She said she hadn't heard nothing.
we just kind of on standby until we can get somebody that's not scared to come forward, that not scared of losing a vote, and say what is going on, and check into it, investigate it, you know, then that's where we'll be. We need that. But so far we have no one that will seem to have the guts to come forward and check out what's going on down here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Once again, we see that the mayor is talking to, I think he's the mayor pro tem. She said she tried to call him back and she could not. Nevertheless, we are here to do what other news media may not do. Once again, that's the mayor pro tem. He's aware of this meeting. But once again, the brothers of the mayor, you got anything else you want to say now?
Well, I just
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, tell her what happened just then, transparently.
Well, I just spoke with the mayor pro tem and I asked him why was the meeting canceled, and he said that he thought it was going to just be a meeting between 3 of the council members, and that it wasn't going to be the public that was going to be invited. So he said he didn't think that the public needed to be here, because he thought it was just a meeting between us, between 3 people, 3 council members, so we can iron out problems. But like I told him, if there is at least 4 council members, it has to be open to the public.
Yes.
And I told him I wasn't going to break the law like they've been breaking it, having private meetings. That's what's wrong with us today.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Brother Calvin, come up just a minute, brother. Now, I understand that you are related to the mayor.
Yes.
What's your position? I mean, what's your relationship with the mayor, number one? And number two, what has happened to you as a brother here in Meigs, Georgia?
Yes, I'm the mayor's brother. I'm Calvin Eason, mayor's brother. My brother and I was downtown Meigs, and we had gotten arrested for being downtown Meigs for criminal trespassing. And I don't see where we could be criminal trespassing in our own city where we pay taxes. Myself, I had just gotten off work, and I came to the stop sign of 111 and Georgia 3, and I see my brother parked here in the parking lot, in the parking spot, and my sister across the street. So I pulled up and I pulled behind him, and I commenced talking to him. Then Marsha DeMoga and Charles Williams pulls up over at the City Hall.
Now, who's Marsha DeMoga?
That's the, whatever she calls herself,
okay.
The city clerk,
okay.
Whatever. She pulls up her and Willie Charles, the city work supervisor. And they went inside, and police, lieutenant, whatever he proclaimed himself to be, went inside, and the next day, that Friday, my brother and I had to turn ourselves in for criminal trespassing, and myself for uniforms that I turned in. I'm being charged with theft of uniforms that I turned in, and I feel that if I hadn't turned the uniforms in, I wouldn't have received my last check. And on top of that, I got a vacation check. So, you know, it's all going to come to the head.
Okay. So you got a criminal trespass, and you've been arrested?
Yes.
Okay. Brother Edward, can you come in? Go ahead. You know what I'm saying? But what happened to your brother? He's sitting there. So what happened to him? Didn't he get a trespass or arrested or something?
He was also arrested himself for criminal trespassing as well.
Okay.
And we went to court today for arraignment.
Okay.
And we pleaded not guilty.
Right.
So we have another continuing date, August 28th of this year.
Have you ever seen anything like this in the city of Meigs before? I'm sure you've been here a long time, haven't you?
Yes.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I've been here pretty much all my life, and this is the first time out of all the mayors that has been mayor of Meigs, this is the first I've ever seen of this kind of matter that's going on now.
Okay. And what do you think about the meeting? Once again, this is not the first time this happened about scheduling a meeting, canceling a meeting, and not notifying the general public. This is not the first time, am I correct?
No, it's not the first time. Anything that the mayor tries to do should be stopped by the, whatever the lady calls that she's the city manager, city OTM, or the city manager, whatever she calls it.
In closing, any closing remarks you want to give before we close out?
Well, we just want our city to get in order, and whoever there is out there that can help, we're begging for help. We've been begging for help since January, and we don't seem to be getting anywhere. And I'm hoping that this will meet the press somewhere where we can start going forward with our city.
Why do you think there's no TV stations that cover these? The Ghetto Free Press, and the mayor just handed me a copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting. And of course, there were no meeting. And it's obvious that under Governor Nathan Deal, Attorney General Sam Olens, Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp, we all can see that there's major problems here in the state of Georgia. I have been labeled many dirty names, but there's one thing they are not calling me. They are not calling me a liar, because I'm not doing that much talk. The video and what you have seen speaks for itself. You have seen the mayor here, Linda Harris, locked out of her own office, then banned from City Hall. You've seen Mayor Ann Whipple in Gordon, Georgia, treated in ways that the citizens over there tell me they have never seen a mayor in the history of that place treated in that fashion. Now, we can play the games, but I will say like the mayor, what is the public officials in the state of Georgia waiting on? I'm going to close this out. I made an concerted effort to be here at this meeting tonight, but there is no meeting. Now look, Attorney General, I got your handbook in the car that you put out. You know, the little red pamphlet. And you talk about you want open government. You talk about the Sunshine Law. You talk about the $1,000 fine if people don't answer the open records. There's a citizen just spoke a few minutes ago, so he sent those open records here to the city, and they did not respond to him. Georgia Attorney General, excuse me for being blunt, but there come a time when the American people got to stand up. If we don't stand up, then we must ask our active duty, disabled veterans, ordinary veterans, and common everyday citizens, why do we proclaim to be a community, state, nation of laws, and yet the law seems non-existent when it comes down to us? Somebody just handed me a copy of the front page of that Georgia Sunshine. I got 14 copies in my car over there. The Citizen's Guide to Open Government, Office of Governor, Attorney General, Sam Owens, Attorney General, in cooperation with the Georgia First Amendment Foundation and the Georgia Press Association, 5th edition 2014. So we are on point. It seems as if the leaders in Atlanta are not on point, and we're going to continue to question the Georgia General Assembly. Let me repeat, the Georgia General Assembly. What's going on in Georgia? Should we not tell our sons and daughters to take off the uniform and come back home and fight for their rights here at home before going to fight in foreign nations, putting their lives on the line? Now that's an intelligent question. The brother that just spoke a few minutes ago is a Vietnam veteran. So let's get serious today. I will close by saying to you, the reason I do this is because I love this republic. And I believe that in the end, truth, right, and justice will win. I'm George Boston Rhymes on behalf of the people and open government. I just hope and I wish that there were more people in Atlanta that was committed to those who put their lives on the line and those who have served in foreign wars to protect the rights of others, only to come home to see that our rights are vanishing in the cosmos.
The Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American and if you run for office and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished. The Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American and if you run for office and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished. 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 You will be punished.
I've been dragged across the desert in my bare feet, with no food or water, with nowhere to sleep. Been ridiculed and abused, wrongfully accused. What more can they do to me? What more can they do to me? I've been locked out with no reason why. Had to look straight into my enemy's eyes. Been stripped from my head to my toe. Nobody seems to know. What more can they do to me? What more can they do to me? Took the heart you beat with and they tore it down. They threw your dignity on the ground. Left you afraid and alone. The truth is still unknown. What more can they do to you? What more can they do to you? You chose not to react, you chose to stay strong.
You will be punished.
I've been dragged across the desert in my bare feet, no food or water, with nowhere to sleep. Been ridiculed and abused, wrongfully accused. What more can they do to me? What more can they do to me? I've been locked up with no reason why. Had to look straight into my enemy's eyes. Been stripped from my head to my toe. Nobody seems to know. What more can they do to me? What more can they do to me? Took the heart you beat with, and they tore it down. They threw your dignity on the ground. Left you afraid and alone. The truth is still unknown. What more can they do to you? What more can they do to you? You chose not to react, you chose to stay strong.
You will be punished.
So why are you all making us feel like we are criminals because we want the best for our children? I'm sorry, y'all, but I get very emotional. I don't want to think about what they did to us. If I don't talk about it, it's like a dream. But when I talk about it, it's reality. I had never been to jail. I had never had handcuffs on my arms. And that hurts. That hurts. People don't realize. They're standing by looking at us. They don't realize how this hurt us. Dogs go to jail with handcuffs on us. And people think about it. People know us. People know who we are. And how you dare them think that we are criminals? It's hard, y'all. It's hard. It's hard. People looking at you that he did something wrong when you know he did something wrong. I'm sorry. Come on. I thank y'all. I thank y'all for being here with us. I just thank God, God bless you, every one of y'all. Continue to support us, so we really need y'all. We ain't got anything wrong. All we want to make a difference in our community. That's all we want. That's all we want.
The Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American, and if you run for office, and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.